All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now live on YouTube. Twitter, we are on sportnarium.com/player. We're in for another treat here because, as always, we love to talk about different wrestling companies, and another company is with us once again, and that is called Legendary Backyard Wrestling, and we have a guest that some might say is legendary in the legendary backyard wrestling history. He is a former champion of that company. He has also been the president, but he's on the sidelines right now. He's going to talk about that, plus his legendary war, no pun intended, with our first ever guest from LBYW. That is CJ the Alpha Junt, obviously multiple time champion of the company. But he needs no further introduction, our guest tonight. But because he's with us here for the first time, he's going to get the usual introduction that everybody else gets, because that's what I do here on Sportswire Radio. So, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one, show. The former president of legendary backyard wrestling, the Willster. My friend,
thank you.
How are you?
Thank you. An introduction worthy of a man of my stature, Mr. Reverend Tom Bryce. And might I add, your mutton chops are looking fantastic today, sir. You have the mutton chop game. I can't pull that off because I have light hair. I've tried it before. It was a complete disaster. My ex-wife, that's probably one of the reasons why she's probably my ex-wife. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But anyway, good to be here. Thanks for having me today, sir.
Well, you've given me some interesting compliments there. I am sure that some people are kind of chuckling about that. For those that are listening and watching, I'll certainly plead the fifth on the ex-wife talk. I'll certainly leave that for
that would be another show, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll definitely leave that for another show, because we try to be at least a family here in Sportswire, and I know that we have a bunch of comments already out there, and I'll get to those in a few minutes. But I mean, for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, I mean, the Willster, I know we're actually nursing an injury or two, and that's kind of impacting things here in LBYW. So talk about it. Well, or show us, literally, because you're the first person ever.
I don't like to borrow anybody's catchphrase, but I'm going to do it one time. Mm-hmm. Let me talk to you. All right. I had just gotten done with a fatal 5-way match to where I literally had all 4 of those morons beat their asses. But in his defense, Napalm was able to retain the championship.
Mm-hmm.
And a very rainy day. It was a very rainy day, and I decided to be in this match. Not for anybody associated with that company at all, because not for CJ either, because he's a moron. He's been a moron for the last 2 years. But anyway, the fact of the matter is this: I decided to add some more gold to the PBS, mantle, considering I've already won the title. Showtime's won the second place title. Mrs. Showtime has won the 24/7 title. You have the longest reigning United States champion in our company's history, in Just Ice, a lady that has bigger balls than most men in this planet. All right. I figured I'd go after the title. You got Napalm's walking out there. I give him credit. I will always take my hat off to him because he is a veteran.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we went in there, and we had a decent match. I hit about 4 or 5 guys in the head with a dog bowl. That was pretty good. Probably never do that again. But so Napalm retains the title. I ended up getting my lip busted up. I was spitting up blood the whole time. But it's something, Tom, when you smell your taste your own blood, that really just makes you go to another level. You know what I mean? And I was this close to becoming the champion, but nonetheless, it is what it is. So as I'm leaving, later that night, I'm on my way home, and I get blindsided by some moron in a hoodie. Okay, that I didn't catch who it was at the beginning, but I have an idea who it was. Not only did he blindside me, it was a rainy night to begin with. So the dude blindsides me, and then not only does he blindside me, he picks up a gigantic row of steel steps, slams it on top of my leg, which was excruciating, by the way.
Oh, I could imagine. I could
Yeah,
imagine.
and he jumps into what looked to be a black rape van with the sliding doors, and he hits the road. Number one, I'm like, all right, whatever. So at this point, I had to get myself into the hospital. He actually blindsided me right outside of my place of residence, which is where I'm at now. And so I waited until I got to Sunday morning, go to the ER. They say, Willster, here's the deal. You have a broken left fibula and you have 5 torn ligaments in your ankle. So I'm thinking, well, that's great. So I ended up having surgery this past Tuesday and got it taken
I
care of.
saw that on Facebook. That I saw on Facebook there. I mean, I might want to ask you. You probably never heard of a fibula before you found out about the fibula injury.
Hey, I might be from the South, but I do have a college education, pal. I know exactly what a
No, I
fibula
know
is.
that. Listen. I mean, I'm from New York. My education is basically you, me, and the phone. But I mean, I certainly imagine that this was a traumatic event here for you, and I'm not
It
going to.
hurts. So every single day, I have to be in solitude because I don't go back to the doctor until Friday. But I'm hoping that when I go back to the doctor on Friday, they'll cut they'll cut this gigantic bandage off and see how the incision was. And hopefully I'll be able to maybe go into a walking boot or whatever. But the bottom line is this: freak, I know it was you little bastard. And here's what's going to happen, freak. Here's what's going to happen. You're trying to take us out one by one, which, hey, that's smart. I would have done the same thing. We plucked you out of obscurity. You had absolutely no one at all, and I took you under my wing. You even won the U.S. championship under me. You were at my beck and call. You had everything you needed, but you decided that you were bigger than PBS, freak, right? So what did we do? We beat your ass and kicked you to the curb, and then all of a sudden, Tom, like a turd that just won't flush, he shows back up, and I know it was him. I know it was him that did it. I know it was him because I could hear his stupid little cackling ass when he got into the van. Whatever. So I'm going to get you. It's just a matter of if. When I get healed up,
So
I'm going
let,
to
let me get
personally
this
get
straight.
you.
Instead of who ran over Stone Cold famously years ago, it's
Yeah,
who
you ran
injured the
over the
Willster.
Willster, but this is easy to figure out. This one's easy to figure out. I mean, it's not
Mm.
like the freak's going to be like, I did it for The Rock. I did it for the people. No, it's not going to be none of that Rikishi crap. I am going to make you feel so much pain. It's not even going to be funny. And you better pray to God that you don't run across any of my broskies or sisters in my squad. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Just Eye, she's beat your ass before. And Showtime, he's about 6'6".
I have seen Showtime. Showtime
Yeah.
is definitely he is the
He's
biggest
from up in
man
your area,
probably
Tom.
in LBYW. Yep,
He's
Showtime. I see that. Yep,
He's from
Showtime.
New York area. And I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to piss off Mrs. Showtime either. I mean, so once they found out that the fearless leader, the boss man, got hurt, they were ready to kill this son of a bitch. And
Well,
that's great.
I could see you got some fire, you got some energy here. I'm going to ask you about PBS in a second, but I do have some comments here, and I want to say hello to people out there because they're tuned in. So I'm going to go to people one by one here. Omen Black, who's obviously here, our leader of the House of Wolves. He is the former IMF champion, but he's always got something very exciting to say. He says, "Welcome to my show, Wilster, with the great
Nice
Tom
avatar.
Bryce."
I like that avatar. That's
Yes,
very cool.
Omen is 5'11", 385 pounds. You definitely do not want to get on his bad side. Our friends over at Dark Cryptic Wrestling, afternoon fellas. Hey, Omen,
Good.
looks like next year just blew up thanks to last night, which I'm going to get to it right now because the big announcement officially, we have a big announcement on Sportswire Radio, and I want to get to that announcement right at the top of the show here because I know that people are going to come in and out over the next hour or so, and I have somebody else that we call maybe the coach as a little hint that'll be on here in a little while to hang out and give his thoughts on what's going on in LBYW. Says DKW and IMF presents Summer Bash 2, which will be a banger of a show, especially for the Midwest. There you go, Tom. There's your answer for your question last night because I had asked about a show that a number of, let's say, backyard wrestling companies are going to be taking part in called Summer Bash 2. And Darkron, who's from Dark Cryptic Wrestling, says, hell yeah, it's going to be the biggest thing in backyard wrestling. So we'll have to have yours truly. Yes, I am hoping to make it. Yes, I am definitely hoping to make it next year because we're hoping to make it big. I will get to some other comments in a second, but I have to kind of ask you then maybe, and I'll come back to PBS in a second, but I mean, you guys, I guess, are kind of near the Midwest. I mean, would you guys like to branch out and travel? I know I've asked
We
CJ and Chris
absolutely.
this question. So I know you guys are in North Dakota, but this event's taking place in the state of Ohio. Now, I am obviously not an atlas map, so I'm curious on what the distance is between North Dakota and Ohio. But would this be something next year you guys would like to take part in? And I'm
I would
sure you're
enjoy it.
following some of these companies. So comment there, former Mr. President.
I would absolutely enjoy it, and the fact that I've been talking, honestly, if we want to get a little bit off character for a second.
Yeah, as long as you're not bringing up gunshot yet. So yeah, go ahead.
We're not going to bring up that piece of trash
I
yet.
will bring them up, but just not on this particular moment. Let's let me put me
Exactly. Well, we'll bring him up later. But anyway, fact of the matter is, we've talked amongst ourselves, and if we could ever, we'd all have to get our time because we all have jobs. We all have different jobs.
Sure, I respect that.
CJ actually has a new job recently within the last, and also CJ has welcomed his third child. So
I saw that. Congratulations. Yes, I saw that on Facebook. Yes, CJ and I are good friends.
We're enemies on screen. He's one of my dear friends in regular human life, and I would love to branch out. I would love it. It would be something. I mean, it would be something to take our talents to Ohio. Ohio is probably it's a good ways away. Because I know I have a friend who lives in Des Moines. I actually have a stepsister who lives in Des Moines too, and that's
really. So I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the IMF, and they're on YouTube also. They have over 1,000 subscribers also, and they're not too far from there also. I mean, have you found that coincidental or not?
I guess so. I guess so. But I think it would be phenomenal if we could all figure out a way to jump in a vehicle. Every one of us on the roster, maybe two. And if we could all get some kind of weekend off next year, maybe plan it, and we could all show up and be part of the collaboration show, I would flat out enjoy it. That would be really awesome.
Well, I mean, obviously, what's the old expression? Never say never. So we'll have
never say never, because I never thought that my 40-year-old ass would be trying to wrestle at this point. But never say never, and here I am.
Well, you know what? I mean, I guess Mr. Black has spoke to Mr. CJ, the Alpha Junt, and he says, I've talked to CJ Junt, LBYW are considering coming. Yeah, I mean.
Good. And I knew CJ was smart.
But also, Mr. Black would like to give you a kind of friendly piece of advice. Willster, you're welcome to come to Summer Bash, but don't be mistaken. Stay out of the way. I kind of think here, and I'll come back to more comments. I'll come back to LBYW in a second. But I think the way that Summer Bash is going to happen, it reminds me almost for the heavy metal music fans in a way of what Ozfest started out as, where it was all of a sudden we didn't really have something in backyard wrestling that was like a festival. And at the time when, again, not to go too analytical here, when the first Ozfest had happened, the reason that they had done Ozfest was because Ozzy was a legend and there was no heavy metal festivals. And Ozzy originally wanted to play Lollapalooza, but it was like they were too square and farty for him. So he made an Ozfest, and I kind of think Summer Bash might be the same thing. It's going to be the Ozfest of backyard wrestling, because you're going to see all these different companies, and you're going to get an opportunity to see almost like the Baskin Robbins 31 flavors of what you might like here. And Mr. Darkron says, hey, I have room here on my property, 6 acres, so room to camp. So we'll have to see. Although I have a feeling, knowing my situation, I'm probably flying to you, and might even be one of those types to look to kind of pull a Hogan there and get a hotel somewhere. But hey, that's here nor there. I will definitely be planning to make it, but I have more announcements on that, but I want to get to some more people who want to say hello, Mr. Willster. Also, CJ Black, the good guy CJ Black. He's also, if I can say this, one of my favorites on Sportswire. He is a part of a company called ROEW. They're in Michigan. They are obviously on YouTube and Instagram, ROEW Backyard Wrestling. So I want to make sure I say hello to Mr. CJ Black.
I'm impressed by his stuff.
Oh, good, because I think a lot of people should be, because this guy, what he does out there in the ring, he's I think personally he's better than some independent wrestlers that I have come on here. CJ just saying you're a good guy. That Collins kid better shut his mouth about my good friend CJ Black. Collins is weird. Let me just put it that way. He's a little weird. Getting tired of Collins spreading lies about the good guy, CJ Black then responds he'll learn his lesson one way or another. CJ, the greatest good guy ever. Well, I'll tell you what, he's starting to win a following on Sportswire. I mean, you can certainly say whatever you want about CJ Black, but he's winning a following on Sportswire Radio. So, hey, if it's working and it ain't broke, don't fix it. Not spotting any lies. Fair enough here. Also, I have an announcement. I'll come back to that another announcement here on Summer Bash too. But let's talk about PBS for a second because you kind of alluded on what is going on here with the situation with the Freak. Obviously, LBY 40's most recent show took place July 4th, and you feel confident with you guys right now. Obviously, you mentioned Showtime. Showtime has kind of been the size, the muscle of the group, and talk about PBS for those that are coming in here for the first time and haven't got a full glance of what the group has to offer.
I think PBS is given a bad rap. They think we're evil. They think we're awful. It all started because CJ didn't want to listen to me. I mean, I have forgotten more about wrestling than CJ's ever going to remember. I'm going to tell you that right now. I've been around a time or two. All right, so this whole thing started 2 years ago. Me and CJ used to be coworkers. And he wanted me to do this whole, thing. But I thought to myself, well, maybe you need to listen to me about some of my ideas. And he kept saying, no, I can do it myself. I'm like, whatever. So finally, CJ painted himself into a corner. And there was a match to where if CJ lost, I gained control of the company completely. And when I showed up, and after he lost, which he did a lot, which up until recently he used to do a lot.
I know, we spoke about it. We had him on here, and he went through actually a losing streak for quite a while.
He mimicked his little John Cena. CJ is like a John Cena nut hugger at this point. I've never been a John Cena fan. I can appreciate what he's saying.
Wow, that's some strong words there, the Willster. You're almost walking the line there between real and I don't know what to say, Mr. Willster.
The way CJ is like he got his ass whipped, like I told him he would. And then when I showed up and I gained control of the company, I got rid of that stupid spinner belt, which I think the spinner belt's one of the dumbest belts I've ever seen in my life. I mean, and I threw it in the trash. Is where it belonged.
So
and
you pulled a Medusa there
pulled
on
in the Luncher Blaze and threw it in the garbage. And I brought the Universal Championship to the company, which is our World Championship now. And, I started doing some things. It got to the point to where I just enjoyed CJ suffering. It was great. It got to the point to where
he did go on a long losing streak. I give you that. He did lose a lot.
And then the worst thing that could have happened was, seeing as that I was the president and I could do any damn thing I wanted to, I put myself in the match against Gyro, which Gyro's a great kid.
Yes, spoke about him in the past.
But I beat his ass and won the championship, and that just really pissed CJ off. And then you
were undefeated for a little while there.
I was. And I was the champion. So then we had this led to our mega match at Hellfest. And now Showtime, when he showed up, I had no idea where his allegiances lied at the time. It was a split-second situation. CJ has his return match, which he wins. But as soon as he turns around, he sees this big, gigantic figure show up and choke slam his ass through the ring. It was a picture of beauty. And then I think he's going to beat my ass because I didn't know what he was going to do. But at the end of the day, I shook my hand out. He shook my hand. And from here on out, it's been a partnership. Showtime can appreciate what I like. He can appreciate what I'm trying to do. So even though that I'm no longer the champion, even though CJ beat me in a stupid gimmick match, I still haven't got a rematch in a real wrestling match because CJ knows he can't beat me in a real wrestling match. It's got to be some kind of... So
you feel Buried Alive, Hellfest, all that stuff. It's not about one-on-one, mano-a-mano.
It's just a dumbass gimmick. Now that was great and everything. I kind of pissed all the Catholic people off by showing up dressed like a satanic priest. But
I wasn't going to comment on that because I actually am, for those that might be curious, I actually am a licensed reverend. So I was
Reverend, I'm sure since it's Sunday and and I'm drinking holy water from a flask.
I'm drinking Coke out of an AMC cup I got from Mission Impossible yesterday. So don't feel too bad on that.
So the bottom line is this. CJ feels now the pressure the real pressure now that he's the champion, and now the pressure's starting to, you know, close in on him, and now he's starting to do things. I can almost be proud of him now, almost of what he's doing. He's doing whatever it takes.
Well, you
to win
guys, in a
match.
way, have almost been like Austin and McMahon of LBYW. I don't know if you guys will
You can
ever
say that.
quite necessarily be on the same page. So, I mean, I have to say that I'm not 100% confident that you guys will ever necessarily be drinking buddies, maybe hunting buddies out there for those in the state of North Dakota and some other parts of the country. So, I'm not quite sure if that'll ever take place. But
Might not. It might not, but the fact of the matter is, CJ, out of character here, CJ, I'm very proud of what he's built.
Absolutely.
I'm very proud of what he's built. If I had the technology at my fingertips when I was his age, I would probably be so much in debt right now.
So are you saying you grew up in the Stone Ages? Is that what you're saying? You grew up in medieval
Well, I grew
times?
up with some of it, yeah. You know,
Mhm.
but I did live through probably the best era in the history of wrestling, and that's the Attitude Era. Nothing can
No,
replace that.
I caught the Attitude Era. That I definitely did. I was present for the Attitude Era. So that's a fair point here. I'll get to more LBYW coverage in a second. But if you are out there on Facebook, give them a follow. Legendary Backyard Wrestling. They have a group there. ND_backyard_wrestling on Instagram as well. Also, Legendary Backyard Wrestling is on YouTube with over 1,000 plus subscribers. So check them out. Give them a follow. But they do have another announcement already right for the jugular on Summer Bash 2. And Mr. Omen Black would like to tell us that we're going to have a War Games match at Summer Bash 2. So that's certainly going
One of
to
my favorite
entice.
matches.
And that's certainly going to entice, I'm sure, some people to come out there and maybe A, take part in the match, and B, certainly be a part of the festivities there. And Mr. Darkron himself also wants to tell us, hell yeah, War Games. And also, Mr. Black has a message for you, Mr. Willster. Come to Ohio next year and settle it there with CJ John. Well, I would hope that you'd be recovered, right, by next year, right?
Oh, I'll be up and running by. I won't tell you right
Okay.
now. I'm probably going to be up and running by, say, Haunted Hellfest 3.
Oh, about a couple of months away from that. That is not too far away. And I want to say hello to somebody who's going to be wrestling his first match professionally next Saturday. That is Mr. Daniel Banner from our friends in the UK at GT Ministries. And I know Daniel definitely wants to come on to Sportswire, and I'll promise to make that happen for him after he wrestles. And we'll pick a date and time, and we'll certainly figure that all out in there. And CJ Black would like to say, in order for him to come to Summer Bash 2, just waiting for all my demands to be met, and I'll be at this Summer Bash thing. Plane ticket
I like
round
this
trip.
guy. I like this guy already.
So I guess we're going to have to figure out now what the cost would be. Plane ticket, Michigan to Ohio. I guess hotel, what the cost that would be, limo, food. You pay, I play. So I guess, I mean, we're talking like Flair Hogan territory, and what basically that's going to cover for the cost there. So
I like
I
this
guess
guy. This guy's fantastic.
he's winning people over. I've got to be honest. He's winning a lot of people over. So he's got the work ethic. He's got the ring ability. He's got a lot of things going for him. I mean, this guy, listen, he's going somewhere. Just like you guys over at LBYW. And what's up, Willster? I think you might know who this is. Talking that delusional crap.
Oh, look at you. Oh, look at you again with your little glasses.
Anything you want to say? Anything you might want to say to the missus of the guest last week?
Look,
That's the
I
missus.
know she's a fan of the guest you had last week. In fact, she's a big fan of the guest you had last week. And
so I've heard.
I've heard. I've heard they may have had a little thing, But anyway, the fact of the matter is this. I have no problem with Chris Aruda at all. I mean, the guy is a Hall of Famer.
What did you make of what I just saw on Instagram? That there is some talk that he might be coming out of retirement, I guess, unretiring. What did you hear about that?
He talks about that a lot. And this will get into us talking about the person that we're not going to talk about right now at the end of the show.
I'm saving that for the coach to come on here in about 20 minutes. I'm saving that for the coach.
The one thing I can say about Mr. Aruda is this. We've not always agreed on everything, but he puts his money where his damn mouth is. When he says he's going to do something, the guy's going to do it. This dude, you have no idea what this guy's going to do. I got speared through a fence by this dude. All right.
So I gotta
Straight
ask you then, how did you like being speared through a fence then?
It wasn't. Well, it wasn't. I wasn't happy about it, but I mean,
Was it something you dreamed of like 10 years ago when you got involved in this crazy thing called wrestling, whatever
probably
you might
something I
want to call
dreamed
it?
of 20 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, dude spears me through a fence, what I didn't see coming, and I'm like, damn.
I
And
guess
I was
who
bleeding.
covered the cost of the fence?
I don't know. I don't know because I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea who covered the cost of the fence. It was one of those just improvisation things that I thought that. I mean, this is coming from a dude who threw firecrackers in the middle of the ring while somebody's wrestling, man. He doesn't give a F,
Well,
man.
if anybody watched Impact this past week, it was Bully Ray and Steve Macklin literally set PCO on fire. So I mean, hey.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't want to get off the subject, but anybody that watched Slammiversary last night, I was tremendously pleased by that show. It was an excellent show.
Yeah, you know what? I will say it's very slightly off the topic, and I've kind of gotten lampooned for this at times on Sportswire, but I actually think that Impact Wrestling the past several months, they've really put on
They've
some
done a
really good
great
shows.
job.
Yeah, they've really kind of like, I know it's not the numbers it had years ago when they had the big money and they were on Spike TV, but I really think that they've assembled kind of a nice roster almost. And
They
they've
have
had
a
some
great
really good
roster
shows.
now. Now that Josh Alexander's back and healthy, I mean, he showed up at the end of the show.
Yep.
Spoiler alert, after Chris Sabin retained the title and Josh Alexander showed back up, which, by the way, Josh Alexander is probably one of the toughest wrestlers in this entire world. This dude can take a effing beating. I mean, the guy is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I remember even a couple of months ago, his match there with Bully Ray for the title, and then he had wrestled the former Impact Wrestling champion there, Rich Swann, and
Rich Swann.
Put up a hell of a match there. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. That'll be interesting to see a man that really never lost his title to begin with.
I'm sure they'll have a match, and I don't think it's bad. There's never been a better time, in my opinion, to be a wrestling fan. On a serious note, because I can't stand that people get on the Twitter machine and criticize everything instead of being happy with what they've got.
There's a lot. It's funny you said that as we're here with the Willster. Of course, he is from Legendary Backyard Wrestling. My name, you may or may not know by now, is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Is that, it's funny in wrestling, there's so many what I like to call, you'll appreciate it because you're a Georgia Bulldogs fan, armchair quarterbacks. Everybody thinks they can do it better than the next person. And then, you go out there, go step in that ring, go step in that squared circle, go into the apron, go and try to run the ropes, go out there and be able to stand in front of those crowds. I don't care what level it is. And then you're going to back up the truck real quick. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there, like I said, on social media, especially Twitter and other places that, they voice their opinions. And I think that that's why wrestling sometimes has this kind of where people can't watch it and kind of just observe it, appreciate it.
Just enjoy it.
Yep.
Because I look at it like this. Okay, you have your two main companies right now. You have the WWE and you have AEW, right? And we always talk about, okay, professional wrestling or sports entertainment. All right.
Right.
If you look and if you look at it from an outside looking in, outside of a globe, the WWE is sports entertainment. Okay. Period.
Sure.
AEW is professional wrestling with a little bit of entertainment thrown in. Because, I mean, I'll give you an example. Last night, you are not going to see the WWE on paid television do a 2 out of 3 falls match and take up an hour and 10 minutes of their own programming with 4 individuals, meaning FTR, Jay White, and Juice Robinson. Okay. There's no way that the WWE would ever do that. Tony Khan does. You know why? Because Tony Khan can appreciate performance. That's what the man can appreciate. And I watched that match too. And I'm going to tell you right now, all 4 of those performers busted their ass in that match. It was great. I mean, it was an unbelievable 2 out of 3 falls match. It was great on paid on TNT, not on pay-per-view. You could have put that on a pay-per-view anywhere. You know what I mean? You could have put that on a pay-per-view, but instead you have a 2 out of 3 falls match, and you're risking that's 60% of your programming for one match. You wouldn't see the WWE do that. I think the last time the WWE did that was like when Kurt Angle and I think Chris Benoit had an Iron Man match on SmackDown a long time ago, and that was cut up so bad because
free TV, free TV.
So there's no way. You know, I mean,
Maybe Booker T, Chris Benoit when they did the best of 7. You might
when they
want
did
to
the best of
technically
7, that was good. That was great. I
that
mean,
they recreated that in WWE. I mean, yeah, I mean they don't do it too often, but it's different for different reasons. But yeah, I definitely agree with you that the wrestling business, when you think about even companies like MLW, certainly
mhm.
the NWA, you've got Impact, which is still kind of hung in there. You've got some
You
companies
got
like
GCW also up,
GCW.
like I guess in your area, like
Yeah, and
GCW.
also I think it was just announced. Speaking of comebacks that you'll remember, I just read that Lash LaRue is returning to the ring for the
Oh,
first time in 17 years. So that's for the WCW fan out there. But I got some comments here. I want to say hello to the Atomic Titan, my guest a couple of weeks ago, and of course he is the man, former TBW World Champion. He is a
look at
huge
that
part of things.
technique, Tom. Look at that technique.
Yes. He's the American Dragon, the Atomic Titan. I mean, obviously from our friends over at Tennessee Backyard Wrestling, and also CJ Black has a funny one here. I want a Tony Khan hug, and then I'll knee him in the McNuggets for touching me. Well, yeah,
And then you can sue him for touching you. That's what you can do, CJ.
I'm sure he could afford it. He could even cover CJ's legal costs, right? I mean, that's
Probably.
always.
I mean,
And
Vince,
I'm
I'm the arm. That's pretty
and
good.
and Daniel Banner would like to say Vince cares more about money than his wrestlers. Tony cares about the wrestlers. Well, again, it's a different
That's a very
dynamic.
good point.
Well, WWE again, not to go too far, and I'll come back to LBYW in a second. But WWE again, they're a company that is basically dominated by their stocks. They're dominated by
Right.
their corporate sponsors. Whereas it's a little bit different in AEW. There's a little bit more of freedom. And Atomic Titan would like to say Tony Khan sucks. WWE is always better. AEW is fill in the blanks.
You know, I used to like you, Atomic Titan, 10 seconds ago, but that was a horrible,
But
horrible take.
I mean, there is a point though that people feel that AEW, like sometimes AEW tries, and again, this is not my opinion, but there are people that feel that AEW is almost like trying to be the cool kids. They're trying to be the social media dirt sheet armchair quarterback types, the Meltzer crowd, whereas WWE is just about putting on the WWE show. It's almost like WWE is like going to a Motley Crue, Def Leppard concert. AEW is like going to see, how can I put this in a way, like the Strokes almost, or it's like going to
I guess
see,
so.
a certain type of musicianship at a show, or like
It's a
seeing
different
Fish
taste.
play. So that's what there's a point to be made that AEW sometimes tries too hard, and that their roster is too big.
I agree with that. Their roster is way too big. I mean, they've got to the point to where it's like you can't. You got a dude like Keith Lee, for God's sakes. Why on earth is he in a tag team with Dustin Rhodes, whose career is almost over? You got Keith Lee, who should be doing a lot more stuff than he's doing right now. I mean, I can look at so many people on that AEW roster. There's not enough television time for everybody.
And that's even with the Saturday show. That's even with that
Even
show.
adding Collision, right? I mean,
Yep.
the CM Punk show, which, look, the more and more I got to thinking about it, I think the Elite and CM Punk both have some issues that they just need to handle like men at this point. But
Yeah, but in wrestling, we know there's a history of that. That guys, unfortunately, they don't. It happens all the time. Famously, obviously, we saw it. Sean and Brett, Arn and Sid years ago with the scissors incident. I mean,
Matt Hardy and
obviously,
Edge,
Matt Hardy and Edge famously turned into a real life storyline in a
which was
match. I
just
mean,
that was distasteful as hell, by the way. Vince McMahon,
Triple H and CM Punk years ago. People don't remember that. And I mean, Chris Jericho and Goldberg. I mean, you can go down the list in wrestling. This is kind of famous for that here. So I mean, I do have some comments here. Keith Lee was better at NXT. Well, yeah, I
very
mean,
correct.
I
He was
won't
also
choose. I won't choose between WWE and AEW in a way because AEW gives wrestlers more freedom than WWE because again, AEW kind of typecast itself content-wise differently than WWE does.
it's a
And
different taste, though. That's what I was saying. I mean, it's like it's a totally different taste. I mean, even the way that they even the way that their camera angles and the way that they look is different. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like if I want to eat steak one night, I watch the WWE. If I want to eat like a really nice salmon one night, I'll watch AEW. Like that.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it. CJ Black would like to say they're in the money-making business and are too afraid to make money. Team Punk. Well, I mean, listen, Punk has brought them some of their highest grossing shows and highest viewed shows, so there's a point to be made. Young Bucks suck. Boy, coming from Atomic Titan, I think a lot of people are kind of wondering, wow, Atomic Titan has said that. I know we'll certainly have him on, and I know back again, and I know Mr. Titan, you'll be very curious to know that next Sunday in the Willster's chair will be Captain Law, and I'm sure we'll be getting into that in a little while here with the Willster himself. You go work for WWE, and I would rather work for AEW.
That's another good point when you talk about freedom to like, for instance, you see guys like John Moxley working different shows. I mean, he'll work a New Japan show. Like just this past weekend, he was in a grappling tournament that he won first place in that was not even associated with either AEW or nothing. What does he do? You know, Mox is all tough and everything.
Yeah, he was even working. I'm trying to think who it was in Impact that has a company, a small company out of Cincinnati. And I heard this somewhere on a podcast a couple of months ago. And he's got the freedom to kind of go do these different things. Whereas in WWE, you're in that machine. The only thing you're working for other than NXT is WWE. You can work at NXT. They'll let you work at NXT, but there's nothing else you can work in WWE because
that's why when Triple H, now that Triple H has started running the show, you would have never seen Vince McMahon allow Shinsuke Nakamura to work the Great Muta's retirement show over in Japan. That would have never been allowed. But now that
I mean, you could count on your hand how many times somebody outside of WWE did something. I mean, it's really like, if at all ever. I mean, so I do have some comments here. Let me get to more comments. Even the indies give more freedom in terms of story and characters. Yeah, I mean, somewhat. I mean, there's some. I'm not going to go down that road because you're obviously going to GT Ministry, so I'm going to plead the fifth on some of my thoughts on some indies. Atomic Titan fears CJ Black. Whoa. Did I just hear that the Atomic Titan fears CJ Black? So I guess the Atomic Titan, you're going to have to respond for us here on Sportswire because it's a lot of people that might want to hear a confrontation about that. So maybe that's something, Mr. Titan. And I know, Mr. Titan, you've been in the ring with Mr. Black's best friend, Jack Delta. So that might be something of note. Punk hasn't done shit for AEW since he's come back. Ratings have dropped since the first Collision. Yeah, I mean, the ratings have not been...
Because it's Saturday night, and it's the summertime. I mean...
Yeah, Saturday night, historically, unless it's like main event, WWE main event, like 10 o'clock in that hour, it's very hard 8 to 10. And I think it's actually going to be more harder for them because college football comes back in the month of September. So I think it's going to be much more difficult for them to get better ratings because now, I mean, the only thing you're really competing with, I mean, yes, you have baseball, but it's really movies. So to me, I think it's going to be more difficult for them to get higher ratings once college football starts because there's going to be a lot of people in those AEW hotbeds that you ain't going to be watching AEW. You're going to be watching Georgia, you're watching Michigan, you're going to be watching Ohio State.
Oh, no. We're not watching those two. I mean, those two, Michigan and Ohio State, come on now. The Big Ten doesn't play football.
Somebody's going to watch them because the Big Ten got a big network deal. So
they did. I mean, but I love it because it's like every time Ohio State or Michigan gets into the playoff, what happens?
That's like there's certain to Notre Dame, throw them in, they get into the playoffs, they do absolutely zero.
They whip their ass. And yes, I believe that the real national championship happened between us and Ohio State. I get that part. I mean, if it wasn't for the missed field goal, whatever. But a champion gets tested, and unfortunately for TCU, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. The Big Ten is the best. That is the worst take that the Willster has heard.
You do realize the Willster Summer Bash 2 is taking place in Ohio next year. If you step foot.
And I guarantee you, I'm going to run Ohio down when I get up there.
I might be a Yankee, Mr. Willster, but I would say I would fear for your safety if you continue on this path going down to Ohio. I would certainly fear for your path, my friend.
The only path I'm walking down is the path to another national championship. That's 3 in a row, baby.
Oh, boy. You know, Willster, I'm really trying to defend you here. I try to be right down the middle on Sportswire, but I pray for your safety if you continue this path, especially down there in that compound in Ohio. I certainly pray for for your
You talking
safety.
about OHIO? Yeah, no, I can't. I mean,
And Mr. Aruda would also like to remind you, by the way, he's here, which I want to ask you a question on him in a second. You're
what's up,
welcome for
Chris?
beating CJ to get you started. Now, I had a question about Chris Aruda, and I'll come back to some of this other fun talk here. But Chris Aruda was inducted into the obviously the Backyard Wrestling Hall of Fame there. We spoke about that last week. And on behalf of the company, what did that mean to you?
For me,
Yeah, what I mean to you. Yeah.
I think it was really awesome that he
Mhm.
got recognized because I mean the guy he's a really intelligent human being. I mean he has he's lived a life. He knows what it's like to go through stuff. He knows what it's like to get out of it on the other side. Um, he's a good guy. I mean the guy. I mean he's tough as nails when it comes to a performer. But the guy's a good. He's a good husband. He's a good dad. I mean the guy. He's a good dude, but he is like one of those. He is like the Dean Ambrose of LBY. Excuse me, John Moxley of LBYW, because you just don't know what this dude's going to do from one minute to the next. And I appreciate the hell out of that. That's why I push him every time. Every time he can show up. I mean, hey, we're both older guys. I mean, our health doesn't always allow us to do things. But when he shows up to one of our shows, I am thankful when he shows up because you know you're going to get something.
Well, and we know the news that it sounds like he might still want to do some things out there in the
I think
ring
that'd be
because,
great. Just make sure you have a good insurance plan, Chris. That's all I'm saying.
well, you know what? I was listening to the $1 Million Man's podcast that he has also now, and he was talking about a Lloyd's of London insurance policy was to why he never returned back to the ring here, and
He needs to pick
also
this phone up and give him a call. Ruta, call the Lloyd's of London, man, and take out an insurance policy. Just
also
saying.
Mr. Darkrown would like to say, hey, you know about our chant, oh hi oh, oh hi oh, oh,
OHIO.
oh yeah.
No. It's LOSE. That's what your chant is.
Like I
LOSE.
said, Mr. Willster, I pray for your safety if you make it down to the state of Ohio next year. I pray for your safety here.
Bunch of snowflakes in Ohio, bro. Bunch of snowflakes. Down south, we do it hard, brother. We're bringing that dirty dog bullshit to those guys. And they don't, when they get busted in the mouth, it's like, you know what gets me quickly off subject? The media likes to hype all these guys up like Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame and even USC.
Well, Notre Dame, I
year long.
agree
That's
with you
great.
on. Notre Dame are paper tigers, but Michigan and Ohio State, that has been, I would argue, might even be the premier rivalry in all of sports.
I don't know. I think the Yankees and Red Sox are, right?
I'm a Mets fan, so I mean, you're really not doing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. So you wouldn't know what that means to win anyway. But anyway, so
I've actually never seen the Mets win a World Series, but continue. Go ahead, I'm letting you pass.
You're not gonna have to worry about them winning anytime soon because we're gonna win that this year, pal. I mean, we're looking pretty good. But anyway,
okay.
Ohio State and Michigan. I love how everybody covers it all the time. It's great. Blah blah. And then when the SEC makes it to the national championship, everybody gets pissed off. Well, beat us. Show us you can beat us. Until then, shut up. That's just the way it is. Just shut up. The SEC is the premier conference in football, and Oklahoma and Texas made an absolute horrible mistake joining the SEC. They are going to get destroyed. They're going to make a lot of money, but they're going to get their ass kicked.
I really should not ask a question. I actually am friends. I shouldn't say this on the air, but I'm actually friends with a former Texas running back, Roderick Walker, who had played for the team. I interviewed him a bunch of times, and he is as Texas of a booster as it is. I will make sure not to send him this clip to Willster.
Please send him the clip.
No,
please send him the clip.
I don't want to go down that road, but I will say the SEC, I somewhat agree with you on that, but I will say that right now, listen, Michigan and Ohio State, that is the premier rivalry. Listen, you got Penn State there, you've got Michigan State there, there's some good teams in that conference, some good football there. Wisconsin, Iowa. I mean, there are teams there that they always, they play tough football out there. It's a different brand of football. I do have some comments because you're really poking the tiger here.
Oh, good.
Snowflakes, fill in the blanks. I think Ohio is a hailstorm.
Oh, okay. That's great. Still, it's made of ice, and ice melts when you get that fire up your ass. So that's just how that works. I love it. So everybody can give me your little comments. I've heard it all. Blah, blah,
CJ
blah.
Black would actually like to say something interesting. Coming from someone from Michigan, the SEC is built different. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you,
look,
sir.
well,
Thank you, sir.
I
I
will say
told you.
this, and I won't spend too much more on college football because I know people want to hear wrestling, they want to hear the talk. But I will say SEC football, the one defense I'll say for the SEC is spring practice gets attended by like 60,000 people. You know, when
Well,
Alabama starts spring practice
God,
or
don't say that.
Florida or Georgia, you hear like 60,000 people attend to spring practices. I mean, you know, other conferences, you couldn't get like 60 people to show up for spring practices.
I was 2 years ago. I went to Georgia spring practice 2 years ago and I visited my family. I've got
Hmm.
to get these pictures, but I was literally on the elevator at the same time with Coach with Vince Dooley. God rest your soul, Coach.
Sure.
Ryan Seacrest. Okay, AJ Styles, my favorite wrestler, by the way. Why?
Sure.
Because
And
he's
WA Wildside from Georgia. Sure.
yeah, he's from Georgia. All at the same time, and I'm like fanboying the hell out at this point. You know, they were just regular people. I mean, they came to see their school. That's where I went to college. That's where I have a degree from. That's where I graduated from. There's no way I can have like a second team to cheer for. It's stupid. It's completely stupid. We run everything now, and I never thought I'd be that petty fan, right, Tom? But I am now, and it's great. I'm totally the petty fan.
You seem a little bit upset on that here. I do have some more comments here.
Oh, please.
Wrestling can be fun because you see some interesting characters like the WWE in the 80s or 90s. Okay, well, I do
That
agree with you on that. WWE's got some great. I actually have to say I'm fully with CJ Black on this because I don't know if CJ knows that when I do my regular Friday sports show, I have been touting the Lions almost for the past 2 years now, and I kind of think that with their team in that division right now, I think they're probably going to win a minimum of 10 games.
I agree.
Legendary of pain, brutality, and suffering, the Willster, and that is our friends
Yes,
from Mr. LBYW. Let me ask you though a quick question. I'm going to bring the coach in a second, but I wanted to ask you. Speaking of which, the legendary Backyard Wrestling YouTube channel a couple of months ago broke 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And what did that mean to you personally as a representative of the company that it reached 1,000 subscribers?
let me tell you what it means to me. It tells me one thing. That little comment right there, pain, brutality, and suffering, my group, we equal followers, Tom.
Well, I
Us.
mean, there were other people in the company too that helped contributed to it.
Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I guess.
Napalm, J Road, Nate Dogg, obviously our
All I'm
champion at
saying
the moment,
is that when I
Akiro
took over,
even.
the damn ratings hit the roof. All right. But no, on a serious note, I was actually on vacation when we hit 1,000, and that was really cool because everybody in this company has been busting their ass to try to get to that point. I mean, that had been a talking point for all of us. And it means a lot because it means a lot of the effort that all of us put in. And we don't do it for our health. You know what I mean? We do it because we care about what CJ's created. He is his vision is awesome. I mean, dude's a great guy. I mean,
Oh, I will tell you this much about the company is the fact that I do think that there is an effort. Guys are hungry. And I think anytime you're hungry out there, and I think that's why I love speaking about these different companies like DKW, Dark Cryptic Wrestling on YouTube, IMF Wrestling 666 on YouTube, Wrestling Championship Entertainment, WC Heat on YouTube.
mhm,
Whether it's obviously you guys, Legendary Backyard Wrestling, LBYW Wrestling, I mean, RWA, it's a whole list of companies. And I see the hunger, ROEW Backyard Wrestling, YouTube and Instagram. I see that people want to go out there and get better. And that's kind of why I love speaking about these companies here. And also,
mhm.
I have here from another fan. Obviously, we just had on a little while ago. We worked hard for that 1,000 as a company and family. So that's no question
Yes, they
that
did. Yes,
you guys
absolutely.
definitely did do that here as
We
well.
are a family. We're a roster that care about each other.
Oh, you guys do? No, absolutely. No, you guys definitely do that. And I want to also bring up here from Mr. Aruda, PBS is soft. Now, I mean, the channel might be soft, but do you feel that
Come on,
PBS is
Chris.
soft?
We just haven't all beat the shit out of you yet, Chris. I mean, I've actually respected the fact that you're a Hall of Famer, and then you come on here with that hot garbage, Chris. Come on, you be better than that, pal. You need to be better than that, Aruda, because
Well,
everybody knows
If you like the Willster, give him a follow on Instagram also, Willster 2015, because he's certainly a very, very interesting mouthpiece. And he is definitely somebody that I think might have a future, certainly on the stick and elsewhere. And we are here on Sportswire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. We are waiting for the coach of Sportswire Radio to join us. We'll have a couple of thoughts and more here. And if you're on YouTube out there, give us a subscription. We're at Sportswire Radio 6579. Also, Facebook at Sportswire Radio, just past 500 likes, 600 and plus followers on Facebook, also 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I have an internet radio station, which is at sportnarium.com/player. We play all types of stuff, and I'll also be back here with several shows upcoming this week, including for Mr. Daniel Banner Wednesday evening UK time. Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling from GT Ministries. GT Ministries get ready for a huge rumble coming up, which will decide who's going to be that company's number one contender, and I'll speak about that with Bentley and much, much more. But we are here with the Willster. And the Willster, I want to bring him on here because he wants to say hello, and he's become really a staple of Sportswire Radio. He's one of my favorites, and I know that you guys know him a little bit off the air. That is the coach, the legendary Mr. Chris Craven. And Chris, first of all, how's your voice holding up, Mr. Craven?
I'm good. I don't have any issues there.
Oh, well, to be fair, you're not screaming like I do in those intros. So to be fair, you don't have to worry about your pipes too much.
I spent a long time in the ring talking shit. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, but you didn't have to scream like I do at intros, so that we'll say that much.
Intros, no, but screaming, it does happen.
All right, well, you know what? Because I think people I kind of saved it for you to come on here. Before I do that, also, Mr. CJ Black says, anyone else a Jim Cornette guy? Yeah, I mean, I always kind of, yeah. I can't endorse everything Cornette says because I would get shot certainly on the air of some of the things, but some of his takes I do actually think I kind of like, and I actually noticed I was watching him call a match. It was an OVW match it was a dark match for SmackDown, and it was actually Shelton Benjamin and Brock Lesnar had won. I think it was the OVW tag titles, and it was the 20. Yeah, you saw it. Yeah, okay. So you saw the same thing here. Also, Daniel Banner says no one likes Jim Cornette. That's why I was trying to be very timid here. But, Mr. Craven, I was kind of saving this here, especially about legendary backyard wrestling. And there's a topic of discussion. I'm trying to be very nice about this, Coach, and it's kind of almost become the human pinata of Sportswire Radio, which is kind of rare that I have somebody like this. We're talking about, I guess maybe he's how can I put this in a nice way? Some call him the slingshot, others call him the squirt shot, others call him, I don't know what else is out there. And I guess
I call him squirt gun.
All right, well, I guess that kind of brings us then to the
I said cap gun the other night, and you were like, that's even too much.
Yeah, it's kind of. I kind of think it's a little too much, but
I've got a couple of things I could say that I guarantee.
Well, you know what? I think people actually might want to hear this, and I feel bad, but I mean, the Willster, obviously it's well documented that Mr. Aruda was supposed to take on this guy who may call himself the anarchist gunshot. Some might call him, I guess, the paper squirt shot, slingshot. Who knows what
Cooper. His name's Sheldon Cooper.
I'm already getting comments about it. So first, I'll let you comment the Willster. I mean, what do you make of this individual?
This is what I think about this guy, okay? When he wanted to get involved with us, he came in with all these videos and this fanfare and all this kind of crap and immediately started running his mouth, okay? And that's great. Start running your mouth. I'm a big if you're going to do something, do it kind of guy. If you're going to say you're going to do it, do it.
You look like one. You're from Georgia. You look like a guy I wouldn't want to cross
that's not a good thing. You don't climb in a yard full of dogs and then think you can bark and all that comes out is a meow.
Right. And the thing exactly. That's a good point. So what he does, he goes and challenges this our guy, the Hall of Famer Aruda, to a match, and not only to a match, a dog collar match, right? Now this kid.
Oh, it's just the irony on this is just fitting after what I just said. But okay,
it's great, and the kid looks to me like he's about 95 pounds of nothing. Okay, of nothing, and he runs his damn mouth all the time. And what pisses me off is that we even sent CJ put him a nice pack. He's got to send him a shirt, the whole night.
Oh, that was nice to CJ.
It was very nice of him. And now here's my
nice.
thing. This dude has done absolutely jack shit to tell me that this guy is going to be part of our company at all. He is a complete poser. He's a poser. He runs his mouth.
I think if he'd be lucky to be a poser.
What did I say last night on last night's show, Tom? I literally said that he is poser personified.
You did say that, yes. You did.
He is. He don't even call him a wrestler. He shouldn't call himself one.
I mean, hell. I mean, I never claimed to be some flippity dippity wrestler, but I mean, at least I'll get out there and try to have fun with these guys.
Well, I'll tell you what I like about you. Well,
kicks like this to be wrestling kicks.
Yeah,
that's what I see.
Yeah.
He kicks like that.
That is a ballerina. See, and the thing about it is, we don't like ballerina bitches in LBYW. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, me and CJ don't get along when it comes to that storyline. But I'm going to stand up for him, and the fact that this dude rolled out the red carpet for this guy. Come out and have a match. We'll even put you up somewhere, man. All this crap.
But I got to ask you guys now. He said on the air this past week that he moved to South Dakota. Do you think he moved to South Dakota because he is now going to finally say, "Hey, I'm going to come into LBYW"?
No, because number one, this moron has no gauge of distance.
Yes, Chris, we've seen him work.
He has no gauge of distance. He thinks that he's like an hour and a half from Bismarck. The place that he moved is like outside of Brookings, South Dakota, which is 5.5 hours from Bismarck. And
so, let me get this straight. Did he move with the intention of actually taking part in your company? Or
I have no idea why he moved to South Dakota. I have no idea.
He went from Indiana to South Dakota. Interesting geographic.
I have no clue. And this dude really... The guy, all he's done is run his mouth and pissed everybody off.
You know, I'm going to let Craven speak in a second, but
go ahead.
You know, and I hope I'm not getting in trouble with this, but he's making a bad name for this backyard wrestling.
That's exactly what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing. I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
Jump in, Coach.
It's like, okay, so where I'm from, and I know Bomber's watching. I just saw him comment.
Yes, and I say hello to Bomber. I was speaking to him off the air, by the way. Yes.
We've always had the one fight, one family. Like, if anybody believes they should do this or want to be able to do this, just always give everybody a chance, right? Everybody should have an opportunity to try if they want. But when you come in with the disrespect, like if you don't know what you're doing and you come in and you mouth off to everybody and you try to make it sound like you're better than everybody, and we've had to deal with that. We've dealt with people like that before over here in Maryland, like. Mm-hmm. They come in and they think they're God's gift to wrestling, and they can't even throw a punch. They can't even hit a bump, or they have never even worked a match. It would be a different thing if he came in, he was hungry, he was humble, he wanted to learn and everything, and he soaked it up. You know, and then maybe 5 years down the road, he said, "I'm good now. I'm good. I'm better. I'm great at something." But if he's going to come into anybody's organization, and I've had that, I'm sure everybody else has had that. If you have somebody come in literally knows nothing of what they're doing, and they're literally going to badmouth everybody there like they're the best thing there, but they really have no clue about any wrestling, about anything with wrestling, the psychology, the ring work, the basics, the bumping, the posting, the up overs, anything. If you don't know, you don't know. Don't act like you do, because you're making yourself the liar. You're making yourself the entire lie, on top of disrespecting the entire locker room that's opened their arms to you and tried to give you the chance.
Correct.
It's a respect thing.
Correct. I mean, the guy's disrespected. When you come out here and start running your mouth, that's all he's done. I mean, he hasn't done anything of substance or value for this company at all. And we're still small. I mean, and you can't sit there and have somebody that brings any kind of negative PR to you this early in the stage of something that CJ has worked hard to build. So at this point, I would never, ever overstep my bounds at all, because it's stupid.
I 1,000% agree with you. And again, not that I'm trying to agree with CJ Black, but I mean, he makes an excellent point here. You know, not everybody can be a professional wrestler or a backyard wrestler. And, you know, it's okay to be the guy that says, you know what, I just want to be a fan and I just want to watch you guys. And, you know, and I don't want to say that that's his destiny, but, even the promo he had here with us, and it was like, if I didn't say, hey, you got to go, this
you're
poor
right.
guy would have got like his lunch eaten and his his
He was
his
able to
body.
get broke. We were able to break it. He was able to be broken in 3 minutes.
I mean, look, in wrestling, everybody think of it like it's a battle, but it's almost like a mic battle almost, and you don't take it personal. I mean, the guy literally, like, you could see it on the air. He was like I even caught his last promo on Instagram yesterday. It was like, even the promo was like awkward. Even the introduction he had in your match in Hellfest 2, it was like he was like awkward. To me, my point is that I kind of wanted to bring it up in fun in a sense, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, you guys, hopefully, I mean, this guy moved to South Dakota. I'm just questioning, did he move to South Dakota because he's expecting to come into your roster? And I was curious what your thoughts, because you were the former president of Willster, and I just
Let me tell you right now, I have seen some of his, I guess you want to call it wrestling, on the internet, on social media, and I would want to do exactly what Mr. Craven's over there doing, smoke break, because I don't want to see anything that this moron has to produce at all. And I'm going to tell you something else. I got a bad feeling that if he ever decided to get in the ring with any of us, he would pose a safety risk.
Well, look, all jokes aside, like, okay, I can joke until the sun comes up tomorrow about this guy.
You do like to joke, Mr. Craven.
It was all serious. It's like, I wouldn't mind seeing what the guy has if he was willing to actually learn.
If he actually showed up.
Like, if he showed up and he wanted to learn and he took in what was being shown to him and he applied it. Like, we've had that before here in Maryland. We've had guys show up that didn't want to learn. They thought they knew what they were doing. But this is a guy that's like, I've done this for 10 years. I'm the promo king. He's gave himself. He's got self-proclaimed names. He's got this self-proclaimed history.
Well, my first thought is he's 22. How could he be doing it for 10 years, right? So you were 12.
Yeah, at 22 years old, it means you started at 12. And okay, maybe you did. Maybe you and your siblings or your neighborhood kids, you wrestled around. Okay, I don't know. I don't know the guy like that, but I do know.
Right.
To be doing this, to be able to share a ring with anybody, to be able to share a locker room with anybody, there has to be a respect. Yeah. You can do your character in the ring, fine. But to do your character to everyone backstage and off camera, and when you're supposed to be just chilling and talking and conversating with somebody, to shoot on somebody and do that when you really have no reason or no right to shoot. Like, if you ain't got a pot to piss in, you ain't got a foot to stand on, you shouldn't be trying to kick or anything like that. You shouldn't.
I think the funniest line, that if I could just say real quick before I break back into this from Darkron, is maybe instead of I'm gonna be really polite. Yeah.
Valet.
If he wants the ballerina, he could be the tutu, and we can put him with Soldier 2 belts.
Oh boy, you know, are you sure, Coach? You want to go down that road? You want to go
start to him?
And the thing about it is,
play him some episodes of Duck Dynasty. It'll distract him.
You got Gunshot, who basically sounds like his figurative balls have not even dropped when it comes to being in wrestling at all. The dude.
That's why I asked him the other night. I said, "Have you hit puberty yet? Is that what's going on here?
It doesn't look like it.
You're so hormonal. Are you in your period? Did you hit puberty? Something, one of the two.
I mean, he said. I mean, and by the way, I don't know if you caught this yesterday. But he said to me off the air and on the air that he's very close friends with Anthony Steele, and Steele, who again certainly pulls no punches, was kind of, how can I put it, walking the line on certain things about this.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, though. You know, I mean, Kaufman wrestles women. This guy, 2-2.
Well, I mean,
you do the math.
I like Steele, but everybody has a very different opinion on Steele.
I like Steele. I like Steele in the. I've seen some of his work, and it's
intriguing
to see. For me, it's intriguing for the competition factor, like getting in there with him and seeing.
Yeah, Steele can back it up, but certainly if you ask Atomic Titan versus you ask James Taylor, they're going to give you two total different opinions of Anthony Steele. I'm kind of blurring the line right now between on the air and off the air, But
don't get me wrong, it still surprises me that he tried to shoot his shot at Havoc last night. But that still, me and Havoc stayed up for like another hour and a half after you guys signed off, and we were talking about that. Like, this guy came at me. Like, I might have to go down there. This guy came at me. What the fuck is he thinking?
Well, I got a comment here. I actually, speaking of walking the line here, are these two guys, the Willster Chris, actually trained pro wrestlers or just backyard guys? And if they made money from wrestling? Now, do you guys know this individual? Do you guys know anything about this?
I don't even know who this guy is. Chris, you know who this guy is?
I don't know, Bren.
I have no idea.
Who's Bren? Who are you, Bren?
Talk to us. Talk to us, Bren.
So
sounds like there's a little aggression with your.
So this Bren is basically somebody you guys don't know. Is that safe to say?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay. And was anything you want to say toward this Bren person, or?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead,
I don't know about Whistler, but yeah.
He said he's a new viewer, by the way.
Okay.
New viewer. So new viewer.
I went from the backyard in the mid '90s to working with Bone Breakers Wrestling Academy in Arbutus, Maryland. I did that for 8 months. Even went back for a 3-month stint afterwards, and did work with MCW as a jobber for a couple years. And then in the mid 2000s, I went back to backyard, and I stayed there until 2020, 2021. So yeah, I've been professionally trained. As far as Mr. Whistler here, I don't know, or Willster, or whatever you want to call him. Same Whistler.
Now, as far
well,
as
tell us your story, the Willster, because this is a good opportunity to talk about your story and how you got into LBYW.
Me and CJ were co-workers. Okay, I'm a postal worker.
Oh, my brother was a mailman for 7 years, so I could appreciate that.
My fucking mail is late today. What's up with that?
You get mail on Sundays, though?
We do. We get mail on Sundays. It's usually little things like bills.
You might want to talk to those guys. Okay. You might want to talk to those guys. And I guarantee there's probably nobody wants to work anymore, but I don't want to get into that. But anyway, CJ came to me with this whole thing about 2.5 years ago. He's like, man, I've got this backyard wrestling YouTube channel, man. You really need to you like being the heel, right? I said, I love the heels. That's always been my favorite. And he said, you could be like an authority figure and everything. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So then I started sending in these little vignettes, these little video vignettes. And then I actually showed up as the Willster character. And since then, that's what I've been doing. I mean, I'm not a trained wrestler. I never claimed to be. I'll get in the ring and mess around, mix it up with people, but I've never claimed to be. When you see a statement like this, you wonder if it's just like he's just wondering, or if this dude's trying to be a smart ass. You know what I mean? And everybody likes a little ass, but nobody likes a smart ass there, Bren. Okay. So you might want to be a new viewer. So if you're a new viewer, Bren, you might want to just stay tuned before you go and make a statement like that.
Can I ask you a side point? I have a bunch of comments here, and I'll come back to that. I was fascinated, and maybe even Coach might want to hear this, actually. He might have a thought on this. You made the move, if you don't mind me asking, from Georgia to North Dakota. That's an interesting jump. And what was that about? What was that like? I was kind of curious.
That little comment? Remember that little ex-wife communicate thing we had talked about earlier? Mm-hmm. The reason why I came up here was, at the time, it was for my then wife. She's in the airline business.
Okay.
Well, my wife kind of ended up being a lying, cheating, you-know-what. So she lives in San Diego, California, and I still live in Bismarck, North Dakota. So that's how I made it up here.
You could have been in San Diego and you're in North Dakota in the winters. And as a mailman, that's a tough job in the winters. I mean,
but I'm not a carrier. I work in a processing plant.
Oh, okay.
Right. I work in a processing plant. So I mean, I don't know where her last known whereabouts is in San Diego. Somewhere.
Well, we don't care. It could be.
I can give a shit.
Yeah, it could be gunshots for awarenesses for all I care.
I don't even give and gunshot. In my opinion, the word that comes to mind other than poser, he's a little bitch. I'll just lay it on him right now. He's a little bitch that just needs to stop what he's doing.
Well, there's a Godsmack song called Crying Like a Fill in the Blanks, and that could be the song poetically titled for Mr. Slingshot, Mr. Super Soaker.
Milli Vanilli? No.
I have a good comment, and both you guys might want to get a take on it from CJ Black. Just backyard guys, that's the stigma I'm trying to make disappear with my work. I honestly do it to try to stay humble, but people that know me know that I would fit in on the indie scene just fine. Craven, I want to ask this to you specifically because I do feel like in a way that indie guys, and even with Steel last night talking, I'm the indie guy, and and I get it, but I do feel that backyard guys get this unfair stigma because people who think, yeah, I'm this independent wrestler, and sometimes there's an attitude and there's a cockiness at that level that I think is a little bit harsh and unfair. And what do you think about a comment like that? Because one of the reasons, and again, I hope this people see this on and off the air. You could call it a shoot, whatever you're not. I see more hungerness sometimes, more heart and work ethic with the backyard guys. Not to say that obviously they're not indie stars and everything else, but with a backyard wrestler, I see that enthusiasm, that ethic. Whereas some indie guys, it's almost like, not to say they've mailed it in, but it's like, hey, I'm a wrestler, and it's like they're on a certain pedestal. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, it kind of goes on what we were talking about last night too, with when everyone was on here, like when that was brought up, like you can be an indie guy. Okay, here in Maryland, we had some guys that worked with us in BEWA, and they went on to be indie, and then some guys were receptive of us still after the fact, like they still remembered where they came from, and then other guys were like, "You're beneath me. You're beneath me," and we had that. I mean, I think Havoc talked on that at some point yesterday too, but like I always think, like I be honest with you, I hate indie guys. That's if I won't say hate. I have a certain dislike and a certain observation when it comes to indie guys, because you never know what you're going to get. You never know if you're going to get the guy that is appreciative because he was there in your shoes. You never know if you're going to get the guy that is like was there in your shoes and was like you're under my boot. And you never know. You may even get the guy that went to indie that never even had the backyard time.
Right.
To the rest of the locker room, don't buy into that. They're garbage. They don't know what they're doing. But I mean, the part about being a wrestler, the starting part of being a wrestler, the very first step of being a wrestler is you're a fan first.
Right.
You're a fan. And then you go from a fan, and some fans turn into backyard wrestlers, and then they go up. And then, you have some fans that just they skip a few steps. But ultimately, everybody came from the same place, being a fan. Mm-hmm. So if the shared camaraderie is you all love wrestling, then I don't think anybody should hate on each other about it. But for me, when I was at MCW, I think I was there for 3.5 to 4 years, and I only did a collection of 13 matches.
Wow.
13 matches in that entire time.
3.5 years. Wow.
And every one was literally a 5 to 6 minute jobber. And no matter how hard I grind, no matter what I did, no matter what I learned, I was a 5'8", 180-pound guy that didn't fit the queue, didn't fit the marquee, and I was just a hole filler.
But that's my disdain with some of the independents, because again, I say this all the time. I cover a lot of British independents, and I'm well aware of the politics. And I think the politics gets in the way.
It does.
And I think that you could see it, because I do the show, right? And I see it. I don't want to say it on the air, but off the air, I get messages from people. Well, this person, I really would recommend you wouldn't bring them on, or that person's been saying things about me. And, when you think about it and you take a step back, these guys wrestle in front of 40 to 50 people. They don't own their intellectual property. Sure, they're wrestlers, they're pros, but if you think about it, I'm going to put this out there. The backyard guys get far more views, are far more known, and nobody really knows who the hell you are.
Right. I mean, you never know you're going to get with indie guys. You never know what you're going to get with backyard. But the one thing that is a constant with backyard is that you get people that always want to learn.
Exactly. And I think there's an enthusiasm. There's an enthusiasm. That's why I love covering the backyard wrestling scene. I love it.
You get people that always want to learn, and you get people that always they're always looking for the better way of doing it. Right? For an indie guy, what's the next step up? For an indie guy, what's the next thing you can make better for you?
Well, there's two sets of indie guys. There's one
to go to a major promotion, AEW.
Right, but there's a few, but there's two variations. Number one, there's somebody that's the quote unquote, I'm doing it for a hobby. I'm doing it because, I like to go once a month, twice a month. I'm doing it. Maybe it keeps me in shape. And then there's the weekend warrior type. And then there's a third, like you said, the wrestler that's basically, I'm making a living at this. I'm going to find a way to do it. And I talk to certain guys like that they basically their intentions are is to work multiple shows a week and get noticed. So
Yeah, I mean, there was a time in my life where I tried both avenues. I did it because I loved it, and then there was a time I did it because I wanted to make money off of it as a career. When the money thing didn't work out because of politics and indies, I went back to doing it because I loved doing it, which is in the backyard. Because in the backyard, like you've mentioned so many times, you get that freedom.
It's the freedom. You own your intellectual property, and you advertising yourself in the way you want to be. Whereas in indie, listen, I speak to guys all the time, and the guys tell me, and I watch their stuff because guys give me their matches. So in addition to watching what some of these other guys do here with us, I'll watch the indie stuff, whether they send it to me through a YouTube link, it's unlisted, or I watch some of their content out there, and you could tell that in the finish or the certain people that get pushed, it's politics, because there are certain guys like that get pushed that are champions. They can't cut a promo. They can't talk. They don't have the right look. But, gee, they're friends with the booker. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm just saying.
Every booker's got their favorites. I won't.
100%. Listen, there's one company that has 3 initials in England. I'm not even going to say their name. It's not GTM Daniel Banner. They put a guy on there that's a champion, and he was friends with the booker, and the dude can't talk. Dude can't cut a promo. So how can I sell my company if I need to sell a certain number of tickets and the guy can't cut a promo? Goodbye.
Look at Roman Reigns a few years ago. He was the top guy then, and he couldn't. He got busted on live TV in front of John Cena.
Yep.
He lost his lines. He froze.
Yep.
And if you look at somebody like Roman Reigns, this dude has done an amazing transformation.
He does. He has.
Well, he had Paul Heyman help with
his character, definitely. But the point is, a mistake can happen no matter what level you're on.
But the moral of the story there is that Roman wanted to learn. Roman had the best teacher anybody could have in Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's probably single-handedly been the greatest talker.
Well, not just Paul Heyman. You got to think about how many legends are backstage at a show.
No, true, but he's working.
How many brains can you really pick at a WWE show? Think about
Michael
that.
Hayes would be one. Michael Hayes would be
Bruce
one.
Pritchard.
Bruce Pritchard's 2, right? You've got Triple
Paul
H
Levesque.
3. Shawn Michaels 4. You got Road Dogg. Road Dogg was a great talker. You got him 5. You had Jeff Jarrett backstage for a couple years with 6. So he was.
You probably even have Adam Pearce if you think about it.
Ring of Honor. I was going to get to him. Daivari, got to throw him in there. 8, right?
You got all these.
You had somebody you worked with for a while, Joey Mercury, for a while.
Yeah, but you got all these guys, but you also have all the guys in the locker room that you shared a locker room with. Like, you don't think peers talk to each other? Like, I did that in BWA. There was times where I would sit down with Chris Bomber, or I would sit down with Rowan Havoc, or I would sit down with Eric Stone, or Mr. XNC, or some of these other names that we had, and be like, not only what do you want to do tonight, how do you want to do this, but what do you think we can do to make it better?
Right.
What can we learn from each other? What can we learn from each other to make it good?
So, Craven, let me ask you a question, because obviously I've got some other people in here, some new people, different people that'll watch it, and I've got obviously the Willster here from Legendary Backyard Wrestling. Obviously, you've gotten to know them a little bit. Obviously, maybe some guys have messaged you, maybe they haven't. But what advice would you give to some of their talent, whether it's obviously a Chris Aruda we spoke with last week, obviously CJ Junt, the Alpha? I mean, what advice would you give for a company like this, a young company, hungry, trying to get its foot kind of in the door, trying to get its obviously act together? There's definitely things for improvement that the company, I think, can definitely do in order to kind of uptick in almost in a way kind of be a little bit different than some in this quote unquote backyard wrestling nexus. But what advice would you give to them?
Which one of us, me or him?
You're the coach. I mean, the Willster's not the coach.
I thought you asked both of us. I would say, you always have to have the optimism that everything can get better. Like,
sure.
For example, we went from a yard to getting into a building to, okay, it's cold or it's hot. Okay, we're going to make it better and comfortable, bring fans and heaters. We want hardcore weapons. We have to get them on our own. We wanted cameras. We started with 1, then we went to 2, and then to 3. We wanted real microphone and sound equipment, so we went and got that. Like, the guys always wanted to work with each other prior to a show starting or after the show went off. Like, everybody always wanted to practice. practice always gets you a better result when you can iron out all the kinks. It's just to keep looking for the evolution of not only yourself but the company, the organization. Like always try to evolve together, like the whole group, because that's going to get you. That's what we did. That's what BEWA did. Everybody worked together and we grew as a group. It wasn't like 6 guys were off on their own doing their own thing and the rest of us were left behind. Like, and Bomber made, and I know he's watching, Bomber made very damn sure of that. Like we were all on the same page. And if we got off page, there was always somebody to put us back on. Like you can always evolve and you can always think, well, okay, even the littlest thing, well, that's not going to matter. Yeah, well, the littlest thing always matters. You're like,
Yep.
Okay, I got a boombox, but I want a real stereo system or sound system. That may be a little thing to some people, but to some people, that sound quality is everything.
Yep.
Or maybe you don't have the right audio, the recording equipment. You're running around recording shit on your cell phones. Okay, it works for now, but maybe when you guys can afford it, you evolve and you get cameras and you place them around the ring, and maybe you get a walking camera and then you get a hard camera. Like you can always evolve. You can always grow, not only as an organization but as talent. Like that's why, like when I said I was going to go to Ohio to work with those guys out in Ohio, Darkron and all that, I'm like
They're here. Yep, they're in the house. Yep.
like I'm trying to get that in order so I can go out there and work with them. There's 3 guys. There's 3 guys, but they have their entire backyard set up like an arena. Like you've got an arena. You've got your yard turned into an arena. So you've got cameras.
TBW has the same thing.
You got a
Tennessee
ring.
Backyard Wrestling has the same thing.
But you need the abilities, you need the skills, you need the mindset, you need the psychology, you need the talent, you need to recruit. So one of the things I'm going to go when I go out there is I'm going to talk to them about how I recruited. I'm going to, like, even if I got to go out on the town with them and show them, look, this is what I do. Go find someone with a wrestling T-shirt on in a Target, and I've done that personally before. I found a gentleman by the name of Jacob Practice in a Target while I was out Christmas shopping with my wife at one time.
Really?
I'm with wrestling shirts on in the middle of a Target, and I walked up and I said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" The next thing you know, this man Jacob Practice and 4 of his other friends showed up at the yard, and then their friends brought their friends, and their friends brought their friends, and before you know it was 20 guys.
Word of mouth.
You know, that's an interesting point, and I wanted to ask the Willster.
We have a dream.
I'm glad you read
I
the
have a
comment.
dream today.
But I was curious about that because when I speak with the British wrestling guys, and I obviously met with a guy that's a wrestler and a wonderful guy, Sheriff Steele. Last week he was here in New York, and he was telling me that in England, because it's a very small town like where you are in North Dakota, obviously, Chris, and in Maryland and in Ohio and some of these other places, there is a similarity in that. Do you guys ever find yourself going out, let's say, and printing up flyers or maybe shaking hands at, like, let's say, a mall or somewhere and just maybe looking for that? Because in England, they actually do that. And I was curious if you guys have ever done that. Maybe, let's say,
go out looking for people like that?
both you guys. Yeah, have you guys done that at all?
I don't recall. But I do think that sometimes you have to, if you have a business, you need to put money in it for it to prosper. You know what I mean? And that's what we talked about. You need to save up some money. You know, maybe find yourself like a building that you could rent, like in the wintertime. You know what I mean? To where you could do that inside there in the wintertime. You won't have to be outside when it's 15 degrees. You know what I mean? Maybe create your own. I mean, I've talked about creating we have a credit union up here. Maybe have our own account up there to where people put money in from time to time, save up the money to actually purchase us a wrestling ring.
Well, that's what the Havoc's organization that he's with, DBW, that's what they do. They everybody puts in kind of like a ring fund every show, but it doesn't go to renting a building. It goes to, or not only renting a building, but it goes to new canvases, new ropes, new chairs, new.
Which adds up. That stuff is expensive. Listen,
like, yeah. And we did that in BWA. Like we had it was what, I don't remember, Bomber, if he can comment. I don't remember how many. It was a few $100s per show for a 4-hour show. And everybody put in $10, $20, $30, whatever it was. But yes, going out and doing stuff like that, I've done that many times. That's kind of how I've recruited. Like we found, I keep talking about Chris Bomber, who became the booker of this big organization. I heard of him through word of mouth of a friend of mine named Dave Gibson. They worked together at like Home Depot with, I think, Chris Bomber's brother. And we all kind of hooked up with that communication, and we got them both there. And not only did Bomber's brother show up, but Bomber showed up, and then like the next show they brought another guy, and I think the next show they brought another guy. Like, even if you go up to somebody and they're like, "No, not interested. I just like watching it." Okay. So you didn't get a wrestler, but maybe you can get a fan out of it. Hey, we're doing a show. You want to come watch?
See, I would think though, like in these small towns, 'cause I'm in New York City, and they would laugh at me, right? But if I were to do something like this, but where you guys are, you guys maybe have more of a pulse of the community, and you might be able to go somewhere. It might mean more to somebody, because if I do where I live, it don't mean jack. It just means nothing, right? But where you guys are, especially like North Dakota, Maryland, Ohio, for
You gotta find
DKW.
yourself a good grassy knoll to wrestle on. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
For me, now I don't think there's any chance.
Go to Central Park, brother.
You can do the commentary. Come on.
Well, commentary is one thing, but my point was it's not about me. It was more about the fact that companies that have dreams, right? You've obviously coached, you've lived, you've done both. I was curious just in ways that maybe out of the box. And I would think like in a place like North Dakota, a place like Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, these places where you have that small town USA feel where maybe you could go to, let's say, the mall, right? Because the mall might be the only game in town. You could go out there, maybe shake some hands, or if there's an independent show in the area, just go there and maybe print up 50 flyers. What does that cost? A couple bucks, and just go out there and maybe shake some hands.
That's a little tricky, Bryce, because some states, the state athletic commission for that state may have a problem with you doing that, promoting and advertising. It's kind of one of the reasons why when it came to a crowd or an audience for us, it was usually always due through social media or word of mouth. And it was
I see that. Yeah, that I see.
Always kept low key because you always had the athletic commission breathing down your neck. And hell, that's what happened to the guys in Maryland, the big organizations that we had here in Maryland. They folded because somebody reported them. And the athletic commission showed up at the residence where the shows were happening and said, if I see a show here ever again or tomorrow or whatever, I'm shutting, it's going to be hell. We had to do everything low key: recruitment, advertising, word of mouth. A lot of the times it was, like you said, go to an arena, go to a mall.
I would think the mall at the very least would be good because there's always people going in and out of the mall, whether it's in the food court, whether it's in and around. I always thought that would be a good place, especially in some of these areas. I do want to say hello to some more people out there. Chris Aruda thinks it's not a bad idea in promotion, and I want people to maybe
I agree with that.
Supporting our friends at LBYW. Also, Blaze Phoenix here. We've had a few people say they would join us and then drop out last minute. Chase from LBYW. So, Mr. Phoenix,
it happens.
It's very true.
It does happen. Not always, but it happens.
No.
I want to say hello to the nemesis, James Taylor. Obviously, Coach, you've gotten to know Mr. Taylor well, and I hope Mr. Taylor's listening because maybe he could bring on the Willster on from
he's catfish. Like he doesn't look anything like him. He's catfishing us.
Well, maybe that's why he's the YouTube darling he is, because he's got over 41,000 subscribers. He's a Taylor.
I'll mess with him.
Well, listen, I know he's out there, James Taylor, and if he's looking for more content, obviously the Willster and Legendary Backyard Wrestling, the Nemesis sessions, definitely try to get these guys on. They definitely deserve a crack, and they've got over 1,000.
Maybe it's favoritism, but I want to get Bomber on here, man. We got to get Bomber on.
I messaged Bomber, so I messaged Bomber and I messaged Havoc. Havoc told me he's going to get back to me on his schedule. Bomber was very modest, saying that he's not in wrestling right now, doesn't want to come on. That's his exact words.
Oh, that's horse shit. He was all excited yesterday when I spoke to him.
I said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, I would love to bring him on. So I mean, I was just messaging him a minute ago, and he was like, tell Bomber. I mean, what is he doing this week? I mean, I would definitely love to bring him on.
Literally, he says that would be a fun trip down memory lane. When I said about
he said that, but then he's like, "Well, I have been out of wrestling for 4 years or something like that."
Yeah, he hasn't. But like I said, it really is. It's just to share his experience. I mean, that's what you're after: his experience, knowledge. Like that's what we're all here for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why we wanted to put you on here with the legendary backyard wrestling guys here. And CJ Black makes a great point. Indie wrestlers around here don't associate with us, too afraid to get blacklisted. But yeah, that's what happens. So these guys at the indie level, some of them are like, yeah, we're independent wrestlers. And then you look at it, though, but your intellectual property goes, for what it's worth. And that's kind of where we're at. And I see here somebody sent me a message I'll leave off the air. James Taylor says, love the pick. Love the pick. The pick is great. Yeah, well, the pick is definitely great. But I mean, let me ask you a question, the Willster, as we're hanging out here for a little while longer here with the coach. Obviously, the coach himself is the legendary Mr. Chris Craven. And then also we have here Mr. Willster himself, the former president and former world champion of legendary backyard wrestling. Follow them at ND_backyard_wrestling.
I would like to throw out my Twitter addresses.
Yes, throw your Twitter because I am on Twitter as well. So give me your Twitter.
It's at the real Willster on Twitter. You can.
That's a good one. I'm going to check that out in a second. But what are your goals here? Obviously, I know. Obviously, you're injured, and we talked about that a little bit at the top. But what are your goals here for legendary backyard wrestling for the rest of the year?
Well, number one, I'm going to beat the freak's ass. That's the first thing that's going to happen. I mean, I'm literally going to beat his ass so bad he's going to have to crawl back in whatever hole he came out of.
What did he say? He's going to freak a man's ass. What?
Well, we got this dude named the Psychotic Freak. He's kind of like the mankind of LBYW.
Okay.
And let's just say you want to injure the Willster, I'm going to beat the holy hell out. I sound like Negan from The Walking Dead, right? I'm going to beat the holy hell out of you. But that's exactly what's going to happen. But my goal, I would like for us to get to the point to where we did travel somewhere. Maybe next year. That would be great. That's what we talked about this earlier, Tom. I mean, I would love to do that. I would love to collaborate with another company in the Nexus. That would be so cool to be able to branch out and make it bigger and bigger and bigger.
I would even think outside the Nexus because there's a lot of companies who aren't in the Nexus. I mean, I know the Nexus has given you guys a platform. I mean, have you enjoyed being in the Nexus overall? I mean, I know that you guys get to put matches on the page and obviously you guys with Chris being in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. I mean, have you guys enjoyed that in terms of working with the Nexus?
Absolutely. They've been very kind. They've been very kind to allow us to do that. CJ puts in a lot of work.
No, CJ's worked very hard, but I mean, I've spoken to CJ quite a bit.
No, I want this vision to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the idea of going around locally is a great idea. I mean, I think it'd be great to have somebody do that. All I know is, okay, so Chris commented, what do you think of him and Gunshot ever faced each other? Well, here's the thing. You know what I'm going to tell you, Chris. You would probably get taken into Child Protective Services custody because you'd end up beating this kid's ass, which is apparently what he needs. And the Willster has 2 L's, by the way. It's not 1, it's 2. Get it right. It's 2. It's not 1. I'm a big fan of grammar. All right, grammar. I might be from the South, but I know how to spell. But anyway, the fact is, if Chris whipped his ass, it's exactly what's going to happen. But Gunshot's not going to show up because he's a little waif. Okay,
I have a funny joke toward that. So if it would happen between Aruda and Slingshot, it would almost be like maybe a funeral.
Exactly.
Put me in there with this kid on Summer Bash next year. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he ain't going to show up, Chris.
And by the way, I'm going to answer this for you guys before I get to another comment. You guys are in Bismarck, North Dakota.
That's correct.
Bismarck, North Dakota. Beautiful place, by the way, North Dakota. What's the weather like in North Dakota right now?
Yeah, the weather in North Dakota is good about 3 months of the year, maybe 4.
Oh, it's not that bad. So it's very, very similar to New York.
I mean, it's nice right now. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's nice. Well, we had a really bad winter. It was bad. I mean, we almost broke the record of snowfall. It was like 18.5 inches or something stupid like that. I actually had my car towed. Which, yeah, that's bullshit. But, I mean, that's the part of it that you don't like. But right now it's nice. I mean, it got up to about 84 today. Everywhere else is roasting.
Not bad at all. No, that's not too bad.
We're doing all right. And yes, Mr. Willis does know his alphabet. Yes, I do know my alphabet, Taft. Thank you very much for pointing that out. I do. So, but
yes.
It doesn't matter how to spell your name. Yes, it does, Chris. It matters how you spell my name, damn it. All right, you get it right. There you
By the way,
go. See,
what did you
Taft
think
knows
of
what's
that
going on. I
beeper?
mean,
By the
and
way,
that is
the
a good pick.
Willster, what did you think of that Power Rangers like beeper there from the Coach Craven that went off? Da, 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 da.
Yep. All we're waiting on is go Power Rangers. Ooh, what the hell is that? That looks like
This is a bit late, but I've
like
given the
some
group a plan.
I'm a 90s nostalgia nut. I won't deny any of it.
Well, I got a good comment here before we go back to 90s nostalgia. This is a bit late, but I've given the group a plan for upgrading to a ring. Right now, we're trying to get everyone to agree, but the Willster was on board. Only issue is finding a building. You want to talk about that for a second?
And yes, he did. And I'm going to tell you something. The plan
Talk to me.
that Chase came up with was outstanding. I mean, it was literally almost like a financial worksheet.
Okay.
It was fantastic. I'm in. I mean, I would have no problem. I mean, he even broke it down where we would buy the materials and all that kind of stuff. It was great. As soon as I read it, he goes, "Hey, Willster, why don't you read this?" So I did, and I was like, "This is, excuse my language, fucking brilliant." It really was. It's fucking brilliant. I mean, I'm all on board, man. All we got to do is get the money together, and everybody's got to be all in on this, including the owner, because I'm pretty sure. I mean, CJ's got a hectic life right now. To be fair, okay. I mean,
yeah, I
CJ,
was speaking to him off the air.
I mean, he has a very hectic life, and the guy does a damn good job of even putting this on. Because if I had 2 kids or 3, wife, job, it'd be very difficult for me to do what he does. So I mean, that's another reason why we all like him, man. We all love the kid. Why do you think we keep showing up? You know, I mean, he doesn't.
If there's anything I could do, out there and help with the ring and just anything, if it's on the air, publicity, whatever it might be, I'm happy to do that. I'm very happy to help you guys in any way possible. So obviously, I love what you guys do, and if there's something I could do, would love to do that. It's actually
not fun wrestling in the snow, Chris. It's not fun at all.
Coach, have you ever wrestled in the snow, by the way, Coach?
Yes, it is. Yeah, no. Yes, it is.
No.
So, Coach, so what do you think about that wrestling in the snow? What do you think, Coach?
What do I think about it?
So much,
you guys. What do you both think about it? Let's go with Coach first and the Willster.
Go ahead.
It makes the bump so much easier.
I guess. I mean, but you don't like getting buried under 4 inches of snow.
Now I did notice that, Mr. Willster, in the Buried Alive match last year, actually more than a year ago now, you got buried in snow. I mean, how did that feel?
And the thing, it was cold, obviously.
And you had no gloves on, by the way.
I know,
man. No gloves. What's the matter with you, Willster?
I didn't bring any gloves that day, man, and I regretted it immediately. And as soon as it was over with, I was inside. I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna have to lose 3 fingers, man. I'm gonna get them amputated. It's gonna be bad. But, I mean, I got over it.
Hot coffee or hot chocolates for afterwards, man.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, possibilities, man. You can have a Buried Alive match.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, the only thing that was good at the end of it is that when I raised my head up like the Undertaker, and CJ super kicked me right in the face, and then that was the end of it. You know what I mean? That was. I'm tired. Hey, all I'm saying is, CJ, if you're listening, I want a damn match. I want a rematch. I want a real match, not in this gimmick bullshit. And if I lose the match, congratulations. But
and he wants it in the snow.
I don't want it in the fucking snow either. I want a real match. I mean, first I'm going to beat the freak's ass. Okay. I mean, it's fun until you get that slush. Exactly. That's a good point. It's fun until you get that slush under your clothes. Exactly.
I always liked, though, playing tackle American football in the snow. That was the one time.
Oh, that's always fun. I mean, we hardly ever got snow down in Atlanta, dude. I mean, we did.
Bro, you're in Atlanta. See, I'm in New York. We sort of sometimes get like massive winters, so it's kind of like interesting. Like New York City, it's like this winter we got nothing, but like 3 winters ago we had like what you guys had. So it's like you just never know in New York. New York, you never know really the weather at this point.
He likes commenting. You know, Bomber has never been shy with wrestling. He has never been shy. He can run his mouth.
Is that a bow tie, by the way, he has on his photo there? Is that a bow tie?
Yeah, it is. Like, so he tells me he's not feeling too well. He's and he has to dust off his props for his gimmick, like his belt and his guitar. I'm like he's never been shy. That's why when he gets on here, you're gonna see he's about as enthusiastic.
I don't know why he said, this is his words. Well, I haven't done this in a while, And
He is
well,
modest. He is modest. He's like that when he was running the damn shows. When he's like, no, we got to get you in there and let it have a match. He's no, come on, man, get on the damn show. Don't be.
well, I'd like to
You ain't
speak
never
with
been
him.
shy before,
Listen,
not to me or
we
anybody
always
else.
like to speak with new people on Sportswire. We love wrestlers all together. We love wrestling, everything it has to offer, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in America, North Dakota, Ohio, Iowa, Greece, Australia, you name it, backyard, indie, pro, whatever it is, we love covering it here. And I have got confirmation for you, Mr. Willster, that the trilogy is going to be booked when you're ready to return to that ring. Willster Junt 3, maybe Hellfest 3 is a possibility, possible
Oh no,
target date.
I want the freak first. I want to beat his ass first as a tune-up match, and then I'm going to beat CJ's ass and win back my damn championship belt. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. That's the plan. You talk about my goals.
Yeah.
There's your goals right there.
I think that's actually, you answered the question. I'm glad I got it out of you. And having wrestled in the snow, the adrenaline makes it to where you really don't notice until after.
He does make it. That's a small point. That's actually a pretty good point.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're in the cold and the wind and the snow, your adrenaline makes it where you don't even realize it. He's right.
Or you do it on the roof like I did that one time.
Holy shit. I got to get footage of this shit. Is there footage of this?
Did you look down first, Coach?
Yeah, there's footage of it. I gotta get a hold of the guy. I did that down in Virginia. I gotta talk to the guy down in Virginia about that.
Holy shit!
It was one of the last times I did anything. Like when Maryland shut down, I went elsewhere and I spoke with a guy that I knew in Virginia that lived down there. And like I said, he was friends with a guy that owned a building, and they had the ring on the building, on top of the building. It was like only 4 or 5 stories, but I was telling Bryce that one time, I was like, that was a different experience. Like get on the top rope and you see everything.
Literally, you see everything. Literally.
Yeah, I'm not gonna wrestle on a roof. There's no way.
It was down like you're headed to Winchester. It was on the way to Winchester, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Never no chance.
It's kind of out in the middle of like one of them little areas, those little towns with a couple buildings out in the middle of nowhere. So not only do you see the streets, but you got to see all the scenery too.
Right.
Well, I have a remark from Mr. Arruda for you, the Willster, and the only thing you'll beat is yourself. And also, the boys from Ohio, which you refer to them, Mr. Coach, says get on top of a cage.
Get a cage.
Well, those guys have a cage, by the way. Those guys have had a cage. And the
I don't see any cage. I saw some of their stuff. I saw one piece of a cage that Luke Combs went through, and it like fell over onto the ramp. Like I ain't seen a whole cage yet.
Well,
and I put it this way: you get a cage that will support my 220-pound ass. I'll climb up it.
Uh-huh.
I'm about 245, so yeah, if we can get a cage, I'll climb up it. Probably won't end well.
So I guess we're going to eventually, maybe, possibly see the return of Coach Chris Craven back in the ring out there. I mean, eventually, right? Maybe.
All right. Rage in the cage.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Put
Rage in the cage is what?
Rage in the cage. So Summer Bash was the July 1st show they did. That was the show, the first. Well, they've had 3 shows.
But they're doing that in Iowa, right? Like I can get to Ohio. Iowa's a little different.
Yeah. Well, obviously Summer Bash is in Ohio. So if you're gonna go to Ohio, that's Summer Bash. So Summer Bash 2, which is next year, that's in Ohio. So everybody's invited. I don't care if you're in the UK right now, if you're in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, all 50 states, all around the world, you're invited. It's basically and what I call is the Ozfest of wrestling for backyard wrestling. You name it, they'll have it. And we look forward to everybody hopefully being there and meeting. And it could be one meeting for the ages, a one-in-a-lifetime moment, kind of a bucket list.
It's kind of funny. Like we were in there when we were in the BEWA. We were in this building that we rented from this other wrestling promoter, and he always had his cage pieces, the pieces of the cage taken apart, lined up against the side. It was like the one thing we were never allowed to touch or mess with. And there were so many people there were like, man, come on, we just put it together. So many people wanted to have a cage match and be so many people. It's right there in front of you, kind of teasing you, and we never got the chance to actually do that. But that would have been really cool.
Very well. Yes, also a couple more comments. We rent the cage, and everyone
Oh,
is
okay.
invited. They rent the cage, so everyone's invited. So listen, if
It's
you're
not the
out
one
there.
that Mick Foley went to, right? I don't want to be taking that. I ain't taking that kind of bump. I'm too old for that
Did you
shit.
guys see? What you guys see? It's on YouTube out there. They had a watch along from the Undertaker and Mick Foley Hell in the Cell match 25 years ago. If it's been that long, it's kind of crazy that
I
it's
know we're all fucking old. We're all
Yeah.
old. We're that old.
I remember when it happened. King of the Ring 98. I was 20
Yep.
years old.
King of the Ring, 1998, correct.
King of the Ring 98.
It is
I was 20 years old.
unbelievable on top of the cage. Yep.
That was fantastic. And then he gets choke slammed through the cage. Which
And Terry Funk, he actually
comes
had
to his aid.
Yeah, that was the funny thing. And then did you guys
The
see?
Funker.
Did you guys see on Instagram not too long ago? There was a photo of Mick Foley and like Terry Funk together, and like, wow, these guys are still like almost.
Terry Funk looks a lot different. He's got a lot. He's like, I don't know how well his health is, but he looks
Well,
right.
I heard. I don't know if you guys heard. Was it last year? I think it was Tommy Dreamer said he went down to Texas and visited him because obviously he's got the ranch there, and he said like, I didn't know if he was gonna make it. He was like in real bad shape, and I just saw some photos of him with Tommy Dreamer
It was his
this
birthday.
year.
I think he just had a birthday.
Mick Foley posted one, and yeah, he didn't look that great. He's got to be what?
I didn't recognize him. I won't lie. I did not recognize him. I mean, Terry Funk was always a favorite. Like, I
Funk you, man.
Him. I got a question for you though, Coach. Can I show you the question?
I'm looking at it.
Mr. Craven, are you open to traveling to North Dakota and trampoline wrestling?
It would take a plane ticket. However, I wouldn't drive there. It'd be a plane ticket, but I think, Mama, I got a little too much problems with whiplash effects for a trampoline. You got a ring?
No, we do not.
We're going to help them. We're going to help them get a ring. We're going to help them.
Okay.
Why get the ring. So if I can help them get a ring, we can help them in that way. We can present a plan. We'll discuss that. What if, let's say hypothetically, they had a ring one day. Let's say they had a ring one day. Let's leave aside. Possible?
Never,
okay.
Never say never.
It's kind of funny. You just say this guy, possible Willster Craven matchup.
We're the tag team.
This guy looks a lot like that Papa Stone character I kidnapped that one time. I sent you the video, Tom. He looks a lot like that Papa Stone character.
Yeah, he does a little bit. And also, Chris Aruda wants to work with you also. I'd love to work with Chris in the ring.
Has Chris Aruda ever been on here? I haven't seen him on here.
He was on last week, actually. Chris Aruda was on here last week.
Okay. No, I mean, so as far as when I'm on,
no, he wasn't.
That's one that I haven't been on one-on-one yet.
He had his Wi-Fi wasn't too good, and we didn't spend that much time with him. Yeah, he was probably wondering about go Power Rangers.
Power Rangers. Now you got to see who the real star of the show is, because apparently my cat wants to get involved in a match.
Well, we'll say hello to your cat. Obviously, we're going to hang out here for about 10 or 15 more minutes.
If I go anywhere, I'm bringing Havoc and Bomber with me. They need to come. They need to get
now.
Bomber needs to get out of his house in Virginia, and Havoc needs to branch out. You saw him last night. He was excited.
So let me ask then to obviously the man behind Legendary Backyard Wrestling. What about then maybe we get a package there of Havoc, Bomber, and Chris Craven coming to North Dakota? If you can find a way to make that work and happen, maybe that's something.
6-man tag.
Sorry, Chris. I think I set you up. I'm sorry. Bomber did not do a lot of wrestling. He has not. He's been out of wrestling for 4 years, but he's been out of the ring for probably longer.
Okay. Well, maybe he can show up and be I guess a good support outside the ring.
He's gonna be our Paul Heyman. He probably could pull that off.
Before we start with the ring, we need to find a building that is big enough and affordable. That's the big issue holding us back mainly. Let me ask a question if it can go on or off the record. Do you have an issue basically like with your town maybe? Because I know some places have issues with like putting up rings in their community. Is that kind of okay? So it's just a matter of finding a ring with the size and a building that you guys can put it in, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't to you two gentlemen. This is to somebody just left a comment.
I'm not too good. Wow.
So Mr. Bomber, so I guess I'm not too good for a trampoline. Well, I mean, I guess for you, Mr. Craven, I guess apparently that's a different point there. And by the way, Mr. Willster, I did appreciate the choice of entrance musics for you.
You had here and talk about your abilities with a trampoline, Bomber. I dare you. I call you out.
Well, I'd like to get the Bomber back on for sure. And Tom, I'll get on again with Chris. Just let me know when. So yeah, I mean, maybe we can arrange a segment with Coach and Chris. I mean, what do you want to speak to Mr. Aruda maybe next week on the air? Would you want to?
If he's on the air, yeah, go for it.
All right, so we'll bring him on the air next week if Mr. Aruda has some time and he's available.
I know that in the beginning it was Graven Rage and it was 2 belts and it was Black and then Steel and
everybody wants to speak with you. You're a popular
Steel
man.
and Taylor were the mystery guys that kept chiming in, and then I met with them, and then
you're a popular guy, Coach. People want to talk with you.
Bring it, Bob.
All right, so you know what?
You out.
All right,
Bring it out.
All right, so you know what? We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll figure it out. I'll message Chris because we're in a thread together, and I'll figure out a day and time. We'll make that happen. And by the way, the Willster, what I wanted to say was I appreciated Metallica Battery as your entrance song.
Metallica is one of the greatest of all time. Why wouldn't it be? Master of Puppets is one of the greatest entrance themes of all time.
Did you hear 72 Seasons?
No.
Okay, fair enough. I knew I was going to get that in.
I think there's like 4 songs on there, and then everything else sounds the same. And I'm a very big fan of Metallica. I'm a fanatic about them. I just think that they could have changed some things in that one.
It was okay. I think my most favorite recent Metallica album was Death Magnetic. I did like Death Magnetic a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, this one's okay. It's kind of, I listened to it the first month, and I haven't listened to it much since. I mean, so it's kind of.
I like a lot of the older Metallica. I do love some of the newer stuff, Death Magnetic or the Hardwired album. But
Hardwired was okay. I like Death Magnetic a little more.
I like Things, Master Puppets, and Justice for All albums. They're kind of Master
and Justice for All
probably my 2 favorite albums.
Yeah, and Justice for All was the first one I ever listened to from Metallica. With Harvester of Sorrow, it had on there. That was probably my favorite Metallica album. Would probably be, believe it or not. I know people would say, well, why don't I say Kill 'Em All? But it would be for me and Justice for All. So I just wanted to bring it up to Will. So I did appreciate your
Justice for All, one of the best albums of all time.
Yep. More than this, they've got at least, I guess it would be their first 4 albums. I mean, the Black Album kind of puts them into a different realm. They lost me a little bit. Yeah. They lost me a little bit on Load and Reload. Lost me a little bit,
Load and Reload were good. It was just different.
It was like rock. It wasn't metal.
It was a different avenue for them.
Yeah, it was different.
I mean, it was all
They went and they basically
my entrance theme is for the longest time, and I know I swear to God, if he comments and makes fun of this, I'm gonna laugh. Was Volbeat's song "A Warrior's Call"?
Oh yes, I know that one.
That was my theme for the longest time, and everybody in the audience would always be like making their sound effects instead of singing the words. I got so picked on for that song.
Well, actually,
along with it, so I got something.
I have a funny Volbeat reference, and people will never know this, but actually, it wasn't when they were the big 4, but the one of the guitarists from Anthrax actually played in Volbeat for 10 years, Rob Caggiano, but he wasn't in there on the famous ones like Among the Living, Spreading the Disease, State of Euphoria. He came into the band later on, but he actually, who just left Volbeat, was actually their guitarist for about 10 years, about 10 or 11 years. So I thought that was a good point here. Also, I got some more comments. Let me get them. Bomber says I'll have to find the old taser. And
like I said, bring it. I called him out. He won't come.
Well, what Chris wants to say is what we want is to learn, and Chris knows what he's talking about. So we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen next week for sure. Bomber says Battery and Blackened are his favorite ones. Yeah, Blackened's a good one. Blackened, I always liked Blackened. Blackened is the end. My only one gripe with And Justice for All, which we know was done as a rib, there's no bass. I'm a bass player. There was no bass. This is coming from a bass player. There's like no bass on the album. Like none.
What's the matter with you, man? There's no bass in the album.
Well, you could tell I'm from Brooklyn, New York, so you can obviously tell.
Weren't they supposed to go back with Rob Trujillo and redo it or re-record it with bass or something like that? I thought I heard that somewhere. They were talking about it.
Yeah, there was, and then they took over their recordings, and he actually did that, Rob Trujillo, because he was the bassist for a while with Ozzy, and Ozzy had a dispute with his original bassist, Bob Daisley, because he wanted a bigger cut of the royalties. He, quote unquote, felt he was shortchanged. And Ozzy had Rob Trujillo go into the studio. This had to have been right around the Osbournes time. And they rechanged Blizzard of Oz. It was Diary of a Madman. It might have even been Ultimate Sin, and he played on the remastered versions of those. They cut out this guy's bass tracks because he had basically sued Ozzy for money. So yeah, I was surprised that they haven't done that yet. Dark Crime would like to say, yes, Coach is a great help. He has great words of wisdom. I definitely agree on that. All hail to the Coach himself. That's why we love the Coach. My favorite song is One by Metallica. Yeah, that's the easy one for me, though. Like One, Enter Sandman. Those are like the easier ones. I would probably have to say.
One is a classic. It will always be one. I mean,
yeah, I like Whip. I think Whiplash would be Whiplash and the Four Horsemen. In fact,
I like My Frayed Hands of Sanity.
It's a good one.
All of Kudaloo.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Disposable Heroes. Like, there's a lot of others.
Yeah, Disposable Heroes is a good one. I would say I think the third or fourth song I learned on the bass was Four Horsemen. So Four Horsemen I have to throw in there. So the Four Horsemen, and I obviously know for the DKW IMF guys, they put up the four hands when they talked about Wisconsin. We referenced it last night that these guys said next stop Wisconsin on their next show, which I don't know what you might think about. Omen Black is in the house. I just found out that Chris started a movie as Josh in the movie Heavyweights. Really happy about you.
This is really funny coming from a guy who's 400 pounds, looks like Luke Combs, and looks like he can't see his belly button.
Yeah, but he's 400 pounds, though.
He's going to make jokes about someone else being a heavyweight?
But he's big, though. He's a big guy. I mean, and it's he says that Sportswire is his show. You really want to...
I know what to do with him. I can just throw a Twinkie at him. It'll distract him long enough for a pin.
Ooh.
How do you know, though, he likes Twinkies, though?
All right. Maybe it's a Little Debbie cake. Who knows?
By the way, Little Debbie's are made in Tennessee. So maybe Little Debbie's he might like.
God damn, they're made in Tennessee.
They're made in Tennessee.
Guess I'm gonna have to stop eating them.
Well, see, the Twinkies.
He made his star appearance as the fat kid in Willy Wonka. Like, he went up the tube. Like, I'm happy for his success. So,
you know what? Listen, Omen is actually trying to be nice. He said, "Hey, it was a good movie, and I gave you a compliment." So, yeah, maybe a ho-ho. Well, a ho-ho. So
we'll get you some ho-hos. We'll get you some ho-hos.
Twinkies, ho-ho, and all those cupcakes are made by the same company, which used to be Hostess, but it's now Bimbo. Actually, Bimbo makes
it. Bimbo.
It's Bimbo. No, I'm kidding. Bimbo.
So no, Omen and myself, we've kind of started off on a sarcastic.
I remember
niche with each other that we can both appreciate. So it's all good.
But I have an announcement, by the way. Before I get to closing thoughts here, I have an announcement here from our friends at LBYWND_backyard_wrestling on Instagram, also YouTube and Facebook, Legendary Backyard Wrestling. Haunted Hellfest 3 will see the return of the Willster as he battles his former protege, the Psychotic Freak. Haunted Hellfest is our WrestleMania. We'll have a lot of coverage of that, undoubtedly. And that'll be toward the end of October. So kind of when we get ready for Trick or Treat, Trick or Feet, Trick or Street, whatever you might want to call it for LBYW fans. The Willster, you return to the ring. Is that what you wanted, the Willster? You spoke about at the top of the show here tonight.
About damn time that I got what the hell I wanted. I'm going to beat this son of a bitch to death, and I'm going to send him back to whatever, asylum that he came from. I'm going to beat his ass so bad. They're going to have to put me in jail time for animal abuse because I'm going to beat him like a bitch. I'm telling you right now.
Wow. Okay, so the WWF is going to be after you. The World Wildlife Fund is going to be after you then.
I don't give a shit about
ASPCA.
I have a T-shirt. SBU or nothing.
I mean, look, man. And one thing I don't think CJ realized when we had a match last year, talk about entrance themes. I was in our gorilla position waiting to come out. He comes out to Chris Benoit's entrance theme. I'm like,
I was not going to comment on that. I was certainly not going to comment because I actually will tell people on the air. I still have a Chris Benoit shirt in my house. I still have it, believe it or not. And people it was funny. My brothers were like, when Chris Benoit died, my brothers were like, "Are you going to throw that out?" And I was like, "No, I kind of think I should."
I got a question. Are CJ Black and Omen Black related?
No, this has been brought up before. They're not related. No, they're not.
What a lot of people don't know about that whole Benoit thing was that happened 15 minutes away from where I lived at the time.
Right, because you're in Atlanta.
I was Chris Benoit lived in this city named Peachtree City, Georgia, which is south of Atlanta. And one thing we can always
Punk with David Flair, what, last night was it?
Yep, he was David Benoit after the match, which good to see Ricky Starks going back to what he should be, and that's a heel. Ricky Starks did not work as a babyface.
Well, I was surprised to see David Flair. I mean, not David Flair.
David Benoit.
Even show up on television. He's been so adamant about not showing his face because of the drama.
Well, I mean, it was Calgary and it was the Stampede, and I think it was.
It was good to see them out there. Maybe he'll get in the ring because Benoit's boys got some skill.
Can I ask you a question, the Willster? And I have more comments here because people are definitely now they're kind of tuned in and they're curious. Did you know Benoit at all? Ever run into him? Because you live 15 minutes away from him?
Yes, I did.
Talk to me about that.
I'm going to tell you about Benoit. I think it was the second job I had or third job I had. It was at a restaurant in Peachtree City named Partners Pizza.
Okay.
And believe it or not, Partners Pizza is still there.
Oh, wow.
Peachtree City was a city. I lived in Fayetteville, which was.
I heard of Fayetteville, sure.
I mean,
that's where Benoit lived.
Benoit lived in, he lived in Peachtree City. And the thing about Peachtree City was it was always known as a town of the very rich and affluent. To tell you how affluent it was, the McDonald's in Peachtree City looked like a log cabin.
Wow. Okay.
And Peachtree City had one mobile home community. And I guess the city was so ashamed of it that they made sure that the mobile home was behind the grocery store so you couldn't readily see it from the road. Now, back to Benoit's deal. When I worked there, he would come to Partners Pizza all the time with Nancy, and his children. Mm-hmm. And he would always eat all the time. He would always tip really well. I mean, the dude was a nice guy, but I mean, Regal would come there all the time. William Regal would come there all the time. William Regal lives in Peachtree City. He's got this big, huge Regal is a big lizard guy. He loves collecting. I'm serious. So
I like you, the Willster. I like you. You got some fire. I like you.
Regal is a big. I like Regal, man. Regal is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. The dude's knowledge about professional wrestling is like unparalleled at this point. He's a man. Yeah, I mean, he's great.
Yeah, that was the interesting gimmick there. So, I mean, you, I guess, saw Benoit, and obviously nobody knew.
Nobody knew what was going on inside.
Nobody knew what was going on with Benoit. Like, the other thing is, and I get in arguments with people about this all the time. Yeah, he did something that was heinous. He did something that was tragic. He did something that was uncalled for. However, are you one of those people that just believes he was a psycho, or do you believe one of these people that he actually had these medical problems that they say he had?
I believe he had the medical
problems, and he was brain damaged. He was really brain damaged from everything he's been through. But basically, it's like, what kind of person are you? Are you a person that puts it on the medical, or are you the person that puts it on? Well, fuck the medical. I say he just did it because he wanted to. I mean, no one's ever going to know. Really,
unfortunately,
no one is ever going to know what happened in a house. No one's ever going to know exactly what he was thinking, when he was thinking it, or why he did it. No one is.
I am not.
All speculate. That's the job of the spectator. Is we give our own opinions and we get our own feelings of it, and that's that. But as far as Benoit, and I won't condone what he did. I don't think what he did was good, but at any rate, but I know that his in-ring work is something that.
I think CJ makes it perfect.
It was.
Yeah.
His in-ring
it was a work of art.
And it's kind of hard to talk about him without mentioning what happened.
Right,
but if you're a fan of his work, like his in-ring work, I mean, nobody knows who anybody of these guys are personally, unless you actually know them.
Correct.
You don't know what they struggle with. You don't know what they do and what they don't do. But I love a lot of Benoit's in-ring work. Like I heard you mention earlier the Best of Seven with Booker T.
Yes.
That is one of my favorite things out of both gentlemen to watch.
I agree. I think, and that was what put really Booker T's kind of career on the map as a singles guy. I mean, obviously we knew him with Harlem Heat, but I mean, as a singles guy, that was kind of where it put him in the wheels of motion to where eventually he led on to what he became. But, there's obviously Benoit's kind of a touchy subject. I do have some more comments here. Sean Jovi, the resident rock star from Wrestling Championship Entertainment, obviously Zero Deus, I guess, is a part of the roster there still. Sean Jovi has an old Benoit figure, and I'm always trying to buy it from him, but he won't let it go. LOL. Well, I'll be off this Wednesday. I can't do this Wednesday, but I possibly could do next Wednesday or another day. So Wednesday, unfortunately, for the time being, I can't do Wednesday nights, but give me another evening, I could definitely do it. So any evening, I think this week or next week, I should be good. I might even be able to do it any evening except Wednesday, so I could definitely do it. So just tell me your schedule. We'll work on that. Benoit was a POS. 3 people died that night, and 2 didn't have a choice. 1, F him. Yeah, I agree on that. I do agree on that.
Now, look, I can understand why people would have an opinion like that, but I can tell you this.
Hey, choose your words carefully with Omen Black. He's a big man.
I don't give a damn how big he is. You know who you talking to?
I know you might be the former president of LBYW, but he is Omen Black. I'm just saying.
Good for him. Congratulations. Anyway, in response to Omen Black, I mean, I think that's a response that he's entitled to. Okay, I mean, but we talk about WrestleMania moments, right? I've been
WrestleMania 20.
I have been to 15 WrestleManias. Okay.
Oh no! Wow.
Including WrestleMania 20 in Madison Square Garden.
My brothers were there. I remember it very well. Both my brothers were there.
Right now, you want to talk about WrestleMania moments when he won the championship? That, by the way, WCW denied him during his career there. He should have won the championship 3 times, 4.
Yeah, he quote unquote was a world champion there, and they sort of took it away from him.
And they took it away from him because Bischoff was a fucktard. I'm sorry, I'm not a Bischoff guy. Bischoff,
like that's the other thing. Like back in that day, I've said this to you, Bryce, before. Back in the day, it was still the era of the big guy. The little guys didn't get a put. Now it's like anybody, no matter what size you are, or what shape you are. I mean, come on now. You got Adam Cole. Looks like he's the thinnest guy on the roster, and he is.
MJF like 5'4".
He's doing it. Adam Cole is a hot commodity. He gets over.
Carmelo Hayes in NXT, he's the champion. Seth Rollins isn't like super duper big. I mean, yeah, it's a different time. I mean, listen, Sean and Brett, I guess, were the first nothing guys. I mean, you could maybe say Macho Man, but Macho Man was always ripped. I mean, but he wasn't super tall. But yeah, it was a different time, a different place here. But Chris would like to say next Monday. Yeah, I might be able to swing next Monday. I have a basketball coach, but I think the coach is going to be moved. So let's tentatively say maybe next Monday. We'll talk about that during the week. I love Benoit. Hope for the best for David Benoit. I agree with you on that. CJ Black says, if New Jack attempted murder in the ring multiple times and was still celebrated, then we should be allowed to acknowledge Chris Benoit, the performer.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Maybe not.
New Jack is crazy, bro.
Yeah, maybe not acknowledge what he did in his personal life, but I mean, it's like Lex Luger. Like everybody blamed Lex Luger for the death of Miss Elizabeth, but they will still praise Lex Luger.
Yeah, you know,
Lex Luger wasn't really a good in-ring worker. He was just a big guy.
He was a big guy who had the look, but never quite won the big one. He was like,
well, originally he was hired to replace Hogan. He was brought in.
Well, even before that, he was the WBF. Remember when Vince McMahon tried that goofy bodybuilding thing? They had
he was brought in to be basically the replacement, the real American's replacement, the Hogan 2.0.
He was going to beat Yokozuna for the championship, and then for some reason they didn't do it. And then after he didn't beat him for the title, his career just was done.
I mean, a lot of these wrestlers have got personal problems. They drugs, alcohol, commit suicide, constant accidents.
Lex Luger, he's almost he's gotten reborn almost.
The point I'm trying to make is all these guys have personal issues. They all have personal lives. But when you're watching them on Raw or you're watching them on Nitro or SmackDown or Thunder or wherever you watch them, ECW, you don't, like you mentioned, New Jack, you don't think about their personal life. You watching them because you're watching them to watch their wrestling achievements, what they did in the ring. Like the one comment said, you're trying to watch because you're a fan of their performance.
Yes. Oh, I don't care what they do outside the ring. I mean, it's just like if you're a sports fan, right? I'm not looking to know what's in somebody's personal life. I'm looking to see what they perform on the field here. And I think that that's a fair point here. And I guess more request. CJ Black says, you got to get on. Yeah, you know what? I think what this is turning into, it's almost, I think I said this, it's like there's a podcast called Drink Shots where people kind of just like talk and just shoot the breeze. I think that these shows, Coach, are turning into that because I'm noticing like people like are still, they're fired up right now because people, they want to talk. And Craven Rage is here with us, made his return to the ring after 14 years from WCE. Round 2, yes. I got so many requests right now. Anthony Finkel says hello. Lex Luger was yoked up, muscles on top of muscles. Yeah, Lex Luger he never really got to that level that he should have been on paper. Willster, before you get worked up enough where you might need to double up on your heart medication, the person Benoit is a POS. That's funny. You know,
okay, the person may have been in the end, but the performer did great things. And,
outstanding.
You know, as a fan, you like anybody. I mean, there were how many times you hear a story about a wrestler or a fight on a plane or somebody that everybody thought it was shitty when Scott Hall.
The plane ride from hell back in.
Now, I'm not going to say it compares, but everybody thought it was a shitty thing.
So maybe I got a funny joke for everybody. Maybe we'll have the backyard. I guess the backyard. How can I put it? Maybe backyard yard from hell next year at Summer Bash too. Maybe we'll have them.
Like everybody.
I got the backyard grill from hell. It'll be not the plane ride from hell, but the backyard grill from hell. Get it? Backyard's grill barbecue. The backyard.
Hey man, if we're grilling out, dude, I'm there. Let's go.
I'm sure. Listen, Mr. Darkon's got 6 acres. I'm sure they know how to barbecue a burger or two. I'm sure they could do that here. And CJ thought that was funny. I thought it was funny too. I was trying to think of the right words. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll figure out. Maybe we'll do if people want to do it. They want to shoot the breeze. We'll do a Drink Shots type of like podcast. People just talk and they'll talk wrestling. We'll get everybody else here and just they want to talk whatever's on their mind. Whether it's the coach, whether it's the Willster, whether it's CJ, whether it's obviously Mr. Black, anybody else out there, both Blacks, whoever else it might be, Darkron, you name it. We'll figure it out. And I would imagine, yeah, he does. Yep. And I know that obviously we have a podcast also, Legendary Backyard, Backstage Wrestling. They have a backstage show. They do stuff like that also. Yes, we barbecue all weekend. And Darkron says, count me in. Count me in for the show. All right. So you know what? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll get a date. I'll set a thread up on Facebook with a bunch of guys and we'll figure out. We'll do a show. And we'll just shoot the breeze on wrestling. We'll just talk. We'll get everybody on there. I'll get as many people as I can, and we'll just talk. I'll throw.
These guys, if we start talking football, people are going to start taking it. I guarantee you'll probably get on the New York kick about how the Jets going to win a Super Bowl, Tom?
No, listen. You know what my running joke is before we get to closing thoughts? In New York, the football team we have is the Bills.
Exactly.
I'm still waiting for the Ravens to go back to the Super Bowl.
I thought JETS stands for just in the season. That's what I thought. But,
it's funny you said that because that was always the line. Even when I was a little kid growing up.
Just in the season.
That was always the line. JETS.
I don't claim the team from my town anymore, especially after 28-3.
Can I ask you a fun question? I ask you now. You guys are in North Dakota. What team in North Dakota do they root for in the NFL?
Oh, hell with the Cowboys. Shut up.
Do North Dakota, that's the team they root for is the Cowboys? Is that the team they root for?
The college team, it's NDSU. It's the Bison. That's the college team up here.
And the NFL
a lot of people up here are Vikings fans just because it's one state over.
Okay.
Probably the Vikings because it's like one state over.
I was curious about that.
An equally tragic team.
Omen Black has requested to come on to the LBY show, and let's go Omen, taking a couple of shots. This is our year, Cowboys winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, God. You just had to do it. You just had to.
Hey, Darkon agreed. And Omen Black says,
I asked him saying the Dolphins.
Hey, Dolphins finally made the playoffs this past year. They finally made the playoffs.
Finally.
Hey, listen, and by the way, to make people feel better out there, the Bengals, went to the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship game this past year. Before that, they went 30 years without a playoff win. So, listen, anything can happen. Anything can happen.
And I put Aruda over 1 million times, and yet Aruda still runs his mouth. because he doesn't have anything better to do. Or
because you know what? Listen, and we'll get everybody. Listen, we're gonna get everybody on a pod. I promise. We'll get everybody on here. We'll figure it out next week.
Trying to get everybody on at once, like that's gonna be hell.
I'm gonna try. Well, it might be one of those bucket list moments. It might just be. It could be a preview of Summer Bash. Who knows? We should do it. We'll do
one
it.
Of those, like town hall.
I do sort of somewhat work in politics, so the town halls I've been in those. So those I'm going to plead the fifth on those and how they work out. But Tom, just get all of us on. Yes, well, I'm going to figure that out here. Hey, since we're talking about football and people that get away with everything, I'm going to certainly let CJ talk about that. Sign me up for an NFL related show. Bonus points if you all want to do a fantasy football league for the podcast. Yeah, maybe. Yes. I'll definitely do an NFL show. We'll definitely talk about that, Bomber. Obviously, Chris, because he's from Vegas, is a 49ers guy, so all great stuff here. But you know what? I want to give you first the Willster the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say for those that are listening and watching here? And I enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with you. I'm looking forward to some more shows with you. You definitely got some fire. I like your enthusiasm, and I love what you do with LBYW. So I turn it over to you, and the floor is yours, and fire away.
I appreciate you having me on your show today. Good to meet you over there, Chris. I think it's been a good conversation, but I will say this. The future is bright for us. We have a lot of eager people in this company that want to do things. We have a lot of people with a lot of great ideas. Just follow us on all the social media platforms. Even PBS has their own Instagram. I'm just saying.
Yes. I will follow that right when we get off the air. We follow each other on Instagram.
Yeah. And we just need to keep on plugging away and just keep doing what we enjoy, because at the end of the day, we're all fans. Like Chris was saying, we're all fans. I mean, the one thing that I'm glad that I can do is I can take my hobby that I enjoy and love so much and be able to live it out. You know what I mean? I even told my ex-wife one time when she got pissed off about wrestling. I said, wrestling was here before you were, dear. Oh, that pissed her off, but
Interesting.
She wasn't a wrestling fan anyway, so fuck her.
You may have set yourself up for that one.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I didn't care, but I mean, it's been an enjoyable conversation. And like I said, follow us on all the social media platforms. Subscribe, like our YouTube channel. And I'd like to send a shout out to one guy in our group on our roster. His name's Chase. Plays Ragnarok. Yes. And I would like to also say he's kind of like the Eddie Murphy of our establishment. He does so many different things.
I could see that in some of his comments tonight. I could see that.
I mean, he does so many different things. He doesn't give himself enough credit because he thinks he can't talk, but he can. I mean, he has a really good voice. And I think a lot of I'll spear your ass to the next fence, Chris, you little bastard. But anyway, the fact is, so I can get this out, so I can finish. He does a lot of good work for us, and I'm glad that he's there. He does all the backstage stuff. He does the TikTok stuff, which I don't do a lot of TikTok crap, but hey, whatever can get us out there to promote us. Cool. And I've enjoyed it. It's been a good afternoon. Something to do while I'm healing up from my awful injury that I'm going to beat the freak's ass over. I'm telling you that right now. Break my foot, I'm going to break your fucking neck, freak. I guarantee you that.
Well, I'll tell you what. The Willster has said a lot, and I have a feeling that he's going to be somebody we're going to know here quite a bit over the next months and years. Hence one, Willster nothing. F the Vikings, F the Eagles, literally the two worst NFL teams and fan bases, I swear. I'm going to plead the fifth. I always say to make people feel good. I'm from New York, right? So I'm going to say zero about fan bases and people's attitudes because New York has usually the nastiest attitudes out there around. So I'm going to plead the fifth on that. Hopefully I'm not as nasty as some other people. But no, North Dakota is all about the Vikings. Let's get the faces of all the feds like a round table thing. And plus the coach. Yeah, we'll do Bomber, coach. We'll get everybody, Willster. We'll get them all on. Yeah, I'll do it. I'm in. I'll make a Facebook group in a little while. I'll put some people in here and we'll definitely figure something out.
I agree with the good guy, Mr. CJ Black. Sky Blue's ass is a thing to behold. I'm just going to say that now. Sky blue ass. I would literally eat whipped cream off of it, bro.
Well, I am a reverend, so I'm going to let you say that because I'm going to plead the fifth. What I would say is certainly very attractive. I will certainly say that much.
I mean, I'm telling you right now.
They're trying to play the innocent. Well, there's some appeal there.
Well,
and then you got Tony Storm. Tony Storm. Jesus Christ. I mean, ooh.
Tony Storm, certainly. Jade Cargill.
Don't hurt yourself in your walker, Willster.
I will say this much again, because we are a family show on Sportzwire, and I have people that watch my stuff and message me, so I'm going to make sure that I agree that Sky Blue is very attractive. I will certainly say that those comments are certainly your opinions only, and those are not comments that yours.
Well, I guarantee you, I'm not claiming them to be anybody else's opinion other than my own. That one right there, boy.
You may be religious, Tom, but you're not. I'm actually not as religious as you think. It's just that I have a background in politics, and I know that people say, hey, like, again, I'll tell the story. My state representative called me on Tuesday, don't ask why, and said, hey, I see you doing wrestling, and, I didn't really think you'd be the wrestling type, but he was like, so what's that like? And I was watching all of your shows, the full length. And I was like, yeah, So that's why I'm going to say there's always somebody I have is important that'll watch what I do. But you're not that. Yes, Sky Blue is great. She's very pretty. Anna Jay might be the best.
I almost forgot. Anna Jay is one of my people, man. She's from Savannah, Georgia.
Forgetting Liv.
Oh, I forgot Liv too. Holy crap. That's a lot of cake.
How about we can go down to Dana Brooke. I think Dana Brooke's another good one. Dana Brooke's very good, right?
That's right.
Nikita Lyons, Nikita Lyons.
Oh my God, how could I forget her?
Gigi Dolan,
Shit, CJ, you're on a roll, brother. You're on a roll.
I know I'll get lynched for this, but I like Charlotte Flair. I think Charlotte Flair's still a
dude, come on, man.
Which version? The original or like 16 plastic surgeries after?
She's suffering from that disease that a lot of women suffer from. It's called no acetol. Okay,
I'm going to plead the fifth on that because, like I said, I just told you completely straight up, my state representative, yes, I sound important, not as important as you think, called me and said, I watch your shows on Sportswire. What is it like?
Appropriate. I get it.
So that's why I'm going to say.
I'll even give a shout out to Willow at this point. So.
Yeah, no, listen. I think certainly, and I have to be careful on this one, Saraya, because some of my British wrestlers they know the Knight family. So I have to, even that one, I'd have to be very careful.
Let's just say I've seen a lot of her work. So
okay. So moving on here, Coach, I want to give you the floor. Hopefully you'll be a little bit more PG than the Willster, who certainly lives up to expectations. And I'm going to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts, and anything else you want to plug, share, say, and fire away, my friend.
Nope, I got nothing. No, I'm just kidding. No, getting around. I like the one comment I was talking about, a round table of like all these people. Like that.
Now that I can condone. A round table I can condone. Talking about people's parts, I can.
That would be an interesting concept.
Yeah, we could do that.
No. This hasn't been like the typical thing where I'm battling against somebody with a promo, but I mean it's the same thing I've always said to everybody. Just do your flow and work on your craft. But at the end of the day, it's like all these other companies. I'm seeing all these comments, all these like come here, come there, do this, do that, follow me here, follow me there, come to our state, do a show, all this other stuff. I can tell you right now, I wish I could travel that much. And if it does get to a point where I can do these travels, then maybe I will take everybody up on it. Yes, Chris Bomber, I am too good for a trampoline. It's a little too much. It's a little too much spring for me. And if you don't like that, then you bring your taser out. See how lucky you get next time with that. It didn't help you the first time. But it's good meeting Willster and everything like that. I really think I'm going to say this. I want to get Papa Stone and the Willster in the ring together because they look identical. I swear to God. And if he sees the Papa Stone thing on your page, he's going to see like they're uncanny. It's almost.
I need to see this person.
Like take the glasses off your face, lessen like a little less facial hair, not as thick. And yes, exactly. Exactly. You two are like you talk the same, you look the same. Like
that's funny.
Papa Stone.
Yeah, I see it a little bit. No, there's definitely look. We're gonna have some fun. I think we'll do a round table. I like it. I think it's cool. It's different. I think there's something to it. People kind of like the guys talking, maybe outside the character, just talking the breeze, being around each other. Could be fun. I think it's certainly something. Why not? So I'm all in for it.
Well,
And
I will make an attempt to. So I will say this: me and Havoc spoke last night after the broadcast went off the air.
yes,
Havoc's going to make the attempt. He's not sure yet, but he is going to make the attempt. Maybe next May. I hear that they're doing a show in May in Tennessee.
yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard that.
And then they got the thing in July in Ohio. Right now, the Ohio thing, I've kind of already said I would go do. I'm going to try to make sure I can stick to that. But doing both of them is what I'm going to try to attempt. So I'm going to go to TBW and I'm going to go to Dark Crown, Dark Cryptic Wrestling, and I'm going to see in between May and July of next year.
And Dark Crown, I really want to give him a big shout out because he's really, his enthusiasm. I'm always trying to share his stuff on Facebook and everything else. And they just put some matches out there on their page. So I'm really trying to support them as much
But
as
I got a homework assignment for Dark Crown and all those guys down at Cryptic. You've heard me talk about ways to recruit. You've heard me talk about ways to get your name out there and get more people in. I want to see something before Summer Bash. Show me something before Summer Bash that you guys are more than 3 people. And that doesn't mean 4. Set a goal. Say we're going to get a roster of 15, including yourselves. Try to set that and go and find 15 people. See what you can do. Yes, I promise I'll be out.
I actually wouldn't mind going to that thing next year. That'd be fun.
I think it's going to be one of those things that, like I said, I'm going to stick to what I said. It could be an Ozfest type of thing. Somehow, some way, got to get a black junt matchup in the future. Yeah, you know what? We're going to talk about that. Listen, I promise I'll put together a group here in a little while on Facebook, and we'll figure out a date and time. We'll let everybody introduce each other, and that'll be a lot of fun. And gentlemen, a lot of fun. I look forward to more of these. Willster, nice to meet you formally on the air. And
nice
Coach,
you,
I'm sure we'll see each other this week. I'm sure that there'll be some segments. I hear that the boys in Wisconsin could be coming on as well very soon, so I could hear those. It's kind of been a while.
I always want to get on. I could always shoot on Rage again.
Well, the boys from Wisconsin, they have a show that's going to be released any day now, so they're chomping at the bit because we haven't heard from them in a while. They've been kind of quiet,
It's funny you say released. I heard that yesterday at Havoc and some other people. We filming things and then releasing them later. We did everything live on the spot. It was out it was uploaded and posted within days.
Yeah, but you know what?
State. This isn't film movie theater. Come on now, we ain't got time for that.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, I'll ask them that question.
I'm just playing.
I know. I hear you. I'll definitely ask that question for sure. But, gentlemen, thank you so much as always. And ladies and gentlemen, we heard from the former LBYW champion, the former president of the company as well, the Willster, who's returning to the ring here. Hellfest 3 against the Psychotic Freak, and also here with us the legendary, equally as well, Hall of Famer himself, the coach, Chris Craven, and also my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and if you're on Sportswire Radio, we'll be back on the air coming up here this week. Stay tuned for some details. Also, if you're on sportnarium.com/player, going to go back to your regularly scheduled program. I'll be back here, in fact, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. British Standard Time, with the Vigilante of Pro Wrestling, Bentley, the 2023 Bolton Town Rumble winner. He'll be in the ring this weekend in GT Ministries Numbers event. And CJ Black with the last comment tonight. I have to go make a business call. Apparently, someone's ready to pay up. Well, we'll have to figure that out here and more. But thank you, everybody, here for tuning in on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.